Assalamu alaikum baringol ngali konton kale bismillah koreke mo ben jibe kan on the Gagigo News Network mba flale ko wala barka baki alben no maka nyamen of course the program to mi alon kon ka wolle nati ale jang of course wati ka diamo about ban kola wa political kola ko le kachale ko wole nati ale jang ba flale ko wala barka baki alben no maka nyamen nim program to mba flale ko fanan. Thank you so much. Albe subscribe ka nyamen ne YouTube channel to wala barka bake albe no maka nyamen ka kibaro la nim programme ol nyalon kon ka walle nati ale ko aliaje nyamen ron ni mu special panel ol ti nyalon ko nga nati ale bi pour ka kacha about banko wala kola mimbe dending surtout mama kandela tala of course mama kandela tala the National People's Party pour ka join ila Grand Alliance la miyalon ko e woleke ahead of the 2026 presidential election. Walati na ngamol soro jang miyalon ko opposition olem bari ngamol soro jang ne fana miyalon ko wolu manke politician olti miyalon ko ni fana be diamula dol ka futa male fa pareta bari dol bi jele miyalon ko ibe kafla manyato demanding albe wol fana jela nga tuba mare sorole miyalon ko atemu data scientist olti abe fen jamal bondila mole nyokono of course about GDC ila performance kabo 2016 and 2021 of course kana jadi be kafula of course President Adama Barola nga Haji Suwaneh fanan sura janne Haji Suwaneh atlem national youth president the United Democratic Party ngade fanan sura janne atemo politician olti ando ka United Democratic Party le support Ibrahim Dampha fanan sura janne miyalon ko of course ate fanan be United le of course Talib Ahmed Bensouda le nyaton ka yakodo ate fanan mo multi miyalon ko nga sura politician olem anda ka United le support nga expect be of course political science lecturer Essa Njie nga expect le ko mba sura la jang nyato demanding ate fanan ye ko fo mole about kandela tala kuola nimbe dending wala bari nyanta journalist o fanan sorala jang min kera journalist Omar Wally mi alon ko ate fanan aba ko analyze la mole mi alon ko is a senior journalist in the Gambia but abe sabatering America banko kan jang bade fanan sorala of course ning program to jang of course ngalbe kondon kal bismillah embe follow la Touba welcome to the program.
Yo, Abaragabaka Buba, it's good to be here with you. Kana Pluka Kacha Kola, member Dending Gambia political. Mbena Molkondoja Ibrahim Dampha Touba from United, Haji Suwaneh from UEP. So content that these are my brothers, content the pulling and Kacha Kola, member Dending Gambia Kola, Bemu Tanya quality, also concerning the December 2026 election. So yeah, looking forward to the discussions. Abaragabaka.
Thank you so much. Haji Suwaneh, UDP National Youth President.
Buba baraka bake. Kontan tabake. Ka tarani nang. Tujang. Ni fa kontong yetum bake and na Oda nga Touba mare and also Ibrahim Dampha. Kena fa mo ni kontong bake Dampha. So ngalbe kontong kalten to kalde. Be kontan na ka kalse jam. Inshallah.
Thank you so much, Haji Suwaneh. Ibrahim Dampha, me along ko ka United support. Ngade financier. Welcome, Ibrahim.
Thank you, Buba. Baraka Baga. Flang content da Prukela Panelo join together with Haji and Touba and the others for me along ko their presence is at Bend. So happy to be here. I am the United Diaspora spokesperson and liaison. And hopefully we'll have a fruitful conversation today.
Yeah, thank you so much. The United Diaspora spokesperson. So he's a executive member of course, I'm United. I'm sorry, la introduction to Mawakije. So konga fo nyamen mbafala albi ko welcome. Ba expect kan puruka of course Essa Njie soro jang political science lecturer and also Omar Wally mi be join nam fele nyata demande bari ni janitol be join nam ba start la ba follow la damen walem of course Touba mariti mi alon ko atemo multi mi alon ko data scientist wala but jannim bita fem koro of course al security wala drop be so fem ko lisro ganjang jannim bita mama kandela join wala NPP be minkela wolem nyindi ko be kachala about police on kachal milialon ko wolle be caring science intending. Well, Tuba ngalo na itabu data scientist walti, but what do you think is feasible? Is it a party-led coalition or candidate-led?
Science personally, I believe before Mbefutala Bima, right, a few weeks down the line, obviously, full bill before come. Until a mirror of feasibility binala a party-led coalition. No for men, coalition Jamal Nana Kurukuru in the Gambia, but the only one that works, woman a candidate-led, well, the Barrow 2016 coalition. But then how that ended, Mbenga Jele. So Mena Wolenko, Barrow resigned from the UDP, and then he joined with the other parties, a coalition sort of, if I remember correctly. Inate Jambedang, Kabire Jambe defeated in 2016, then Barrow became president of the Third Republic. Mbeje ay manda follow ka banda, manda flanyang kono, Watara Nata party law. So about a party led into then another party law. Then sorry, about a candidate led another party law. So Kabrimu Boteji, that's why this coalition talk. So UDP being the biggest of the oppositions, they would prefer a party-led coalition. But then yalong coalition katadlado group Jamal lebije, party lebije, leko stakeholder lebije, movement lebije, and so on. But then it told them the outcome was there were more people present at the coalition talk. Menulko it all after candidate led. But that candidate led Nina Rajube feasibility side to totally more side men. But I believe a party led would be better, since at the end of the day, you were already in a party for so long, and even if it is new, you resign your party. I think that resignation will only become a theory. Because while you resign from your party, you come. At the end of the day, even if I do that and it is successful, unless I don't believe in the principles of that party that actually projected me to a level of the coalition, will be able to an independent kind of decision. So it's still going to be a theory of resignation, but in practice, I will still align with a party to do the work. Now, before in terms of feasibility, sign Jubembe Diamond, right? UDP bought coalition talk Mama Kande fella already with GDC officially, I would say. But sign Jumale talk coalition talk I think Unite Lebiji and then the civil society, the stakeholders, Jumale world. Unite BJ, I think APPA so far as of now, Mawala Findo Kalamuta. So no full BJ. Mama Borita Menna from the coalition. I don't think it added damage to NPP will be like a candidate later. I think NPP is going to lead. As of now, that's what I think. For the nominations time bina Momalo Minebe Fintilao. But in fear Borita Menna the other coalition talk Atara will endorse in NPP. So Woboroina GB feasibility for me is going to be a party led. But then there are different models. So Momalo Minebina adopt at the end of the day. Boa, are you with us?
Buba dropped out.
I'm with you 100%. So is it that you Malum for is it that Molsilata Minna that like what Barrow did in 2016 it a financial slow world?
Not necessarily in the slow world. The slow form world. What is part of it? Coming, okay. If we don't adopt a party-led coalition, it had a candidate-led. Let's say everyone resign, nada. But then why would you resign from your party if we get all? Because at the end of the day, if political back can they through the party. So I think there is no single party in Bafala they have a policy against Gambians. All parties will say the policies that we have is to better the country. So I don't see any point of leaving your party. In a coalition, Binala, they talk on factual terms, they talk on feasibilities of who they think, which party has the highest chance of winning in terms of simple majority is concerned. To me, it is better to come here align along that line than you come resign from your party yet like a single primaries to do selection, because the representation will be very, very different. And we can go into that. I think that's not the question here, but I can go into that to talk about, let's say, the qualitative representations and the quantitative representations. So I don't think it will be fair to political parties that have larger numbers as to those who are just into the, or maybe the stakeholders, for whether they are civil societies or so on Malong, whether will find interest to run for presidency. And some of them...
You can talk about that. We're interested
so,
to know.
So, okay, left for example, you have a party that pretty much has about like 200,000 plus. You have another party 100,000 plus. You have another party may alonko a la position was about 17,000 plus or so. That is our latest benchmark in terms of referencing, right? Nibodo Nanji, you can talk about National Assembly elections. You can talk about other elections, like the mayor and chairmanship elections. But you could see even with those, the two parties that perform very well, NPP and UDP, NPP mantara the opposition coalition talk to UDP. So to me, the model would work better if UDP numbers is respected to a point they give them the chance to go. But obviously, it has to be an agreement. It's not going to be comment like okay, UDP. They would have to talk, but you cannot downplay that. So Nina, for example, just like a normal investment, right? So UDP have 200 and something thousand, their latest benchmark. You can also go to, they have a single, they have a popular votes more than NPP in terms of the mayor election, local government elections, right? They're probably the only political party, they performed higher than the incumbent at that time. So ni wakati na so party mele ya register na o dol menul beje ila number mansia back 17,000, 20, 25, 30. You want to go into a coalition, but there is going to be an equal representation. I don't really think that is fair. Because if you are registered as a party, I think you are endorsed by 10,000 people, right? So ninenamang election ke as a new party, you are sitting, you are representing the voice of 10,000 people at that time. Ninane election ke your benchmark representation will be the number of people who voted for you at that time. If you came second like Mama Kandana GDC, akeda nyao nyangalo ne ko doltar NPP dol fenkata tem, but as far as records are concerned, presidential elections, the latest record is 105,000 and a little more. So we can say at another mall, they are at the coalition table representing that many number of people. So I knew I don't know, the stakeholders, they only have the support of themselves and a few people around them. Or 100,000 or 50,000, in terms of equity. I don't think equating those two will be feasible. And that is the whole essence. My miracle, the candidate led will work, but then we are seeing what is happening, right? So in sending for as a theory, but bibi nyabala lemenkeda, UDP bodaje, GDC bodaje, Sam flow mail to I don't see a scenario where Talib and Unite would allow them to be led by Essa Fall. I don't see another scenario where APP, Esobia, and Essa Fall would be led by Talib. But both ways around. Mira no. Naketa that inside it, but science I think there's nothing that could tell me that's gonna happen.
All right, thank you so much. Na Essa Njie, Omar Wally, thank you so much for joining Omar Barka Bake. Ka funyem panelo la jang. So mbe jump la Haji la because ngalo Haji la party left of course some party led coalition nela. Ngata Ibrahim Dampha Ibrahim muna na atolla party or unite. Alafta min na walem candidate led coalition, and why do you think that is more feasible? Ila mic on mute, Ibrahim. Ila mic on mute. Even mute.
Buba, thank you. Hello, Engineering Karo Bedi Adabakar. Obviously, after the voting, we've issued a presser where we align ourselves with candidate-led, and I think we're very much open about that since in the beginning. And just a reflection to the question, when I'm answering this question, I used to say, with a common adage, when it is not broken, why will you fix it? The only time a coalition is successful in the history in our political history in the Gambia was when it was candidate-led. Before that, anytime a coalition is attempted, before the negotiation begins, problem will bang. But in 2016, when all political parties, independent candidates, political establishments, they were not yet parties. When they all put aside their political parties and then put the country first, it succeeded. They were able to not only get a candidate who led them, but they were able to boot out a dictator, a brutal dictator for that matter. And so where me and the Wolonko, Gambia is a model. Ola ni mol kafa nene manke duladun kafu ko fatu manke Gambia not. Akata Gambia and it was successful. And the coalition was successful because the coalition, the priority of the coalition was to remove Adama Barrow. Obviously, there are some agendas, you were established, but at the end of the day, Ibema succeed because of a difference. But I get that. And the more falanka minjibe kafuko, because this is the number Seattle, they look at the precedent of, for example, 2021 number. If that is what we were going to look at in 2016, then there was never going to be a 2016 coalition. In 2016, the election was between three candidates. Was between Yahya Jammeh, Ousainou Darboe, and Hamad Bah. Ousainou Darboe was second with 114,000 votes, and he got 17.4%. Right? So in 2016, when we were at the coalition discussion table, if we had said that, because UDP were the leading opposition party in 2011, so by default they should be the one that should lead, then there will never have been a coalition and there will never have been a change. So the reason why the discussion of coalition funkake at anywhere, it means all the oppositions believe they cannot do it alone. That's the only reason. Anytime we said let's coalesce, we are saying that we are going to negotiate. And if we are going to negotiate, it means you are in a conversation to get something that you cannot get for yourself. So when we are getting into that conversation, we need to forget about the agenda. We look at the overall agenda. So for me, I think, and then Minkan Jahali Wolonko, like most of the party, perhaps UDP, when candidate model was introduced, it favored them. They were the one who won it. So I don't know why it is going to be a problem in this scenario, but I respect their position. I respect their the reasons why they believe that this time they are not going to be part of the coalition. I think it's normal, but Namiro Minti, I don't think it should be a big deal. Definitely, I think what will happen in this election will definitely surprise a lot of people, because whether we have a candidate-led coalition or a, whatsoever coalition, what is important is let people let UDP go, let Unite and other parties go, and then let everybody go back to your grassroots, and then your party purka do koke. And then kukilim falambije ngo kroshi in this discussion, like ninko coalition, numbers matters. Numbers matters. I keep saying that. Sometimes we don't have to be blind because we don't believe, we are not in a certain political parties. Numbers really matters. For example, Ninko, in the discussion, you have civil society organizations. They cannot vote. They are not political entities. Or you have, for example, a political entity with one or two people, and then go to Gambia, whereby, because people use these coalition conversations as a way to get to power, or because the model last elections was just simple, just be part of the coalition and you're going to be a state minister. So people use this as a way, I understand. But reality, people see it. In the Gambia, it's the only country where you see registered political parties with 3 people, and you see other political parties with political establishments struggling to be parties, and they have like branches, they have establishments in every nook and cranny of the country. So what is more important, Buba, at this point in time, Wolongo, more be continue what you are doing, make sure you converse as much as possible, and then be ready to face Adam Barrow and they'll at Unite Kunda.
So Ibrahim, Touba ya fanyame. Right now UDP at all form party admit it all the biggest opposition and election records in Tandile. And najele ko ebota nyum coalition o konole. Allah model fangat la yes mol be bulle. Nataje ko fanang GDC felenti kafuta President Adam Barrow. But nga report sol jele bi fanang ko PAP fanang bota nyintole. So do you think at all ning esa falwal da masa keno like Touba ba foka nyameng? Do you see albo agreement o sotolale? Do you think I'll see President Barrow or UDP defeat nole. I'll see face nole ni election o mialon kole kana.
Yeah, but just to interject the preamble of your question, UDP, if one wants to call them the biggest opposition party as reference to the last elections, fine, granted, I will say that. But in this current scenario, you cannot say this political party is the biggest opposition party if it is not going to be referenced with last election. If that is the case, if we're going to reference everything in the last election, then there will not be need for any elections.
No, but Ibrahim, to be fair to them, even last surprise la survey it only and so we attended they are the biggest. So I think to be fair to them, they are right.
So that's why we're talking about the current status quo. Last surprise survey, we were not even a political party. We were 3 weeks when last surprise survey happened, and UDP was 30 years plus. I'm not disputing their number. I'm not disputing their might. I am just saying that we should be very careful when we want to reference it to last elections, because if we want to reference everything to last election, then therefore there will not be any need for the conversation. We already Adam Barrow have won. What I am saying is that at this juncture right now, I don't think I'm going, because you said Adolf Sondra UDP long the biggest opposition party. At this juncture, I don't think I have the numbers, and I don't think I will be in the position to say the biggest opposition parties. If you ask me, definitely in my own view, and seeing what I am seeing in the country right now, and seeing the new wave and seeing the energy in people, I'm gonna say Unite is the biggest, definitely the biggest.
But Ibrahim, is this based on data or it a mirror or UDP is not the biggest opposition?
So that's why I ruled our references. I ruled our references in terms of referring to the last elections. I also ruled out the survey that you've done, because survey that you've referenced was just 3 weeks. We were just 3 weeks, okay? Granted, I'm saying that if you want to put it on those references, fine, granted they are. But if you want to be, if the conversation want to be current right now, it's going to be difficult. Unless if there is another survey that suggests that, then I will agree, right? But okay, going to your question right now, funding Essa Falbe agree, funding Essa Falbe agree. I mean, this is still a negotiation. The conversation is still at the negotiation. Negotiation will be getting. At the end of the day, what is more important is that Essa Fal and all other political parties unite, and NUP, all of them come together. You realize, okay, this is about the country, and your candidate select me along has winning potentials. The candidates also elect me along have a history of obviously of winning against Adam Barrow and his cover. So for me, I think at this point in time, it will be premature for Jamal be leader for Jamal to leader, because New York obviously is just going to be withdrawing the conversation backward to UDP because go time more kind of signing it will be premature. But what is more important, I think if they come together, if they have a unite front, Gambians are ready for a third option, and I think if they're able to put up a candidate who has the potentials of winning, definitely they're going to boot out Adam Barrow. This is my strongest belief.
All right, thank you so much. Janim binana boss Omar Wally. Haji, muna na ite amira coming like candidate late is more feasible, and also of course Ibrahim Dampha Touba about this coalition that Gambian will need to mean the William third force. Muna na to lafta of course party late coalition.
Baraka buba Omar joining now. Omar from Hatin to back na konto. I don't know for joining us here. Buba fane muso yalla bukalo fane so buta. Mole kalo muso de bulaji. Namiro do yalo ila foundation of Biriba Bella. You reference 2016, right? Candidate late 2016 yalo mobe yalo ko Gambian will have an independent president candidate. But yalong Gambia political nyone ne le war rabage, so mul katafike fanne ne hansani ko si mantra mo ne ka nde believe tamen wala min ko candidate lead wo already ay meita wala min ko lanna balia ay wala tan lanna balia in the sense that nita dara moya ko bari malla wo na la korala akamunda ko dro korda me yawlondi manyana kala o fanala. That is the hard fact. Bari ning atra ko molen ko ngana ka nyoma imanya na fala wo ngara ko rabbu ka sate ko non ko la mulka fit la bayla ko la ko tongoni la jamuno ibukol boy fangol ifangol ni la ko la kontong ni la jamul le kanala buka resign ka bona la konola simple because Touba yame bo la tunya de ma jaron samba ibuka finti yana ya fo mo de ko ela ko jamul landi ko mo sina ma be sate do ko konola buka kena so you debate until later men no ko 2016 na lesson di gambe da mol ni daga kawo to le ka tan ko nim mol tata Allah taga almal la nyula aka membu wala mu nimi soti nin tunga nga siaje batere 2016 wala am dead soto we could have changed the government then even without candidate late a party that could have changed the 2016 Jammeh regime just like the party has changed the 2016 Jammeh regime but because of Lannabalia they try to force the candidates to resign from their parent parties to stand as an independent candidate but not knowing that the constitution to go by his or her discretion in terms of executive, decision makers. So Niman La Mario trust that person through Alapatio lead. You still want to convince the person to come and have like a gentleman agreement on paper, sign or unsigned. Yet still, the constitution, is every, that is signed, which is contrary to what the constitution has said. So 2016, what I can was we end up having a government. But a government, may along a leader, was having a long-term presidential ambition. So therefore, he bound himself with the constitution and those he does, that is where we are today. So now those lessons are learned, and then it's another mobile macafo. You have a problem of 2016. You cannot convince me to go back to the same lectures that I learned a lot from. We'll look at 2016 and in 2026 remember 2016, the UDP insisted on candidate party led. It's a clear reason called 2016 mol ya Waladal El Karam and Waladalu a scenario lamu funing mil la take fam nene. And ni la fan nene UDP te allow fan nene kafo konola. And again, to see this candidate lead, Comment Dampha, it was part of their plan to frustrate the UDP and eliminate them from this discussion because it tells to them they believe in the third force. That third force means that without UDP, UDP has to stand on their own. Then MPP stand on their own. They have another party or another entity who is going to take against UDP and the MPP. That is the third force they are talking about. Wale Atunna, candidate lead was their choice. If you look at Mama Kande, our principle is never candidate led. Mama Kande, in his principle is never candidate led. He always he always believe in his party and a party led. He always believe in himself and his party. But Niajibe, why I'm referencing here, he was part of this coalition discussions. And then, obviously he agreed to the candidate lead. But to them, they thought that Mama Kande was very genuine. Not knowing UDP were having a lot of information that there was an intruder inside that coalition. He's not there because he wants to form a coalition. He's there because the person has an ulterior motive. So can they let him be, when they struck that deal, we know the conspiracy theory works. So that whole conspiracy theory, you have some people conspiring against you. You obviously we know that there's no reason or purpose for you to remain in that discussion. So the UDP definitely allow them with their candidate or on their third force efforts to work. Politics is a number game. You want to go for a third force that has never even tested themselves in the history of Gambia. 2016, reference, they always say 2016 and 2016 is a different scenario. But like it's a different scenario like what? You mean that it's because Jammeh was killing people. That was the only reason me and Molu were willing to vote against. No, there were reasons beyond that one. And ning ata wulu but what is not meant to original me along ye highlight today. Original begin me along Molu. Majority of Gambians are now realizing that it's because of those reasons. So people are willing to make a change. Just like the way people are willing to make a change in 2016. So changing in 2016, they'll believe that the same change can be done in this 2026. But now it's supposed to be definitely on a way will never suffer again. Political person is going to betray the Gambian people again. So what are the UDP? Until we believe on our principle before we are entering in this thing in a good faith. And also again, we want to clearly state our position that any question discussion is just going to be, doing their own things on desperation and then based on convenience. Left any coalition discussion and with a purpose make any changes it's supposed to be a transformative agenda. People will say yes, this is what we should expect from politicians. But so-called, let's just be in government. From there we can whatsoever thing we want to do. UDP don't want to take part one. So Nina the party legible.
Party led so aji ko fenke ya funyamen Dampha ya funyamen ite ibe mi aleka wala nyindiko these people itata nyin coalition kacha dulale with the mind ko already it will be third force lekela that UDP in fact will be fintilale already, but Dampha is saying ko you people had the chance to pour kanyeng even candidate late naltar primaries la alsa we know. If that is the case, why will you withdraw naturally chance to win that?
Dampha was not following the discussions. He's not aware of a lot in there. He's just trying to mislead the followers or the viewers here. Yes, UDP, we are very much willing to compromise because you know ko Allah mirarol magi kilonlet wala ne kafon alingana nga kafu ne kafu kafuji political karola e kafu alingana nga alliance ke ko Allah ideology mangi kilonlet. You come from your place, I come from my place, we might some issues wala ne kafu ngaka political karola ndelbe parere na pour nga compromise. The candidate le bria approve yala wono ko man fintige because we were willing to give room compromises, negotiation of prior. But along the way, Buba, in other eligibility criteria, where it seems that directly you are telling me that I cannot be part of the discussion. I recall that was a public notice call. Mobile Usenda coalition 2016, undermine. I tell you, sabotage simply because of going for the 5 years. Okay, and 5 years for the mobile, I alarming that I disagree with Usenda about time. In fact, I was arrested by this government and then also in prison at the time. Went to Mile 2 for almost a month or over a month. Yalo mu public knowledge. But that does not mean ko usenda ba mempo amala dalilo me alanko it was a public interest. Of nano man kilimo. Usenda ba yala kola menka wo it was clear. Nin la ka wole ton kanadi ko like that was a sabotage against the coalition 2016 in their eligibility career, it cannot there is any verifiable previous coalition sabotages by any candidate. So the objection means that automatically you qualify. The other part is party will be able to, candidate will be able to party again in their eligibility career, imalla fitejala in the party structure be any affairs I'll be mingula, I'll be any interactions with your party structures. And these are registered political parties. These are parties with official structures. These are parties with membership. So nitala ka wo party law structural take pa, ka party la ke buka. That means that you are not, willing to, compromise. No matter how a candidate can be popular, you must be able to convince and deal with your party structure in terms of convincing them to vote for any coalition. So if there's no way that you interact with those party structures, that means that anyway, the issue of interaction will be very limited, and the issue of progress in that coalitional campaign it will be very, 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 very minimal. So you go back to 2016, bring coalition of winter, UDP take over the government. Means that the support base, there you go. You had that Arambaro candidate about UDP here and there. That is what they want to bring back to this coalition 2016. Using us as a criteria in the eligibility process to qualify candidates. So now that you don't want to go as political gymnasts Diamond will give advantage to your opponent, put it demoralized. Because if they drop your candidate in that one, means that they have a political, weapon to use it against your candidate, which we are not ready for. So those are not merits. They are not merit based.
Okay.
They are not, competent based. They are not, moral based. They are only purely, designed just to be able to demoralize the UDP and get their third force. That was what the UDP has foreseen, and we really take our position on principle that we are going to be in a coalition that is just merely meant to go against each other disrespectfully. Let them go with their task.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Ngalone Dampha responsible, but midana boss like I'm follow. Of course, ko nga fa Omar Wally atemu journalist cable di Gambia. Nole mi alon ko ay politico no Gambia bakele andonga of course I think Jamal fahamu jere. Da boss me welcome la programme so ite yenin kachal jele coalition kachal kabri darita party dol mil boko UDP wallafta num party lete la bari nga jele ko dol bi jele mi alon ko lafta candidate lete la so naraji ko UDP withdraw tale of course candidate baroyalen and science tenting ngajela ko pap fanang withdraw ta kacha nyintole but nyin coalition kacha ko be this candidate led and party led ite aja nyandi.
Thank you so much Buba barka bake baba baba ning Ibrahim ning Haji ngal be konto Touba kay ngal konto camera ko ni betam momento yalo mandingol kamen fo kulumbulan lalbe ibe mu hame kilinede o ngani kilinede something like that bari ngambara nanin kulumbulan dal la ngani on magi
ani
ebe ngani kiline mo bela brita ke captain ot
captain no man sonyo
ma wala me ko mo ronde
yeah I think on a serious ngamira mem forma they're going to have this discussion but mamira ko be kambela because kuja mala be dunni nyokono yalon dawu membe kunna num 2016 or dawu dem kunna 2026 of course it's bad come Ibrahim Ibrahim is like ikunwe bola normal it's a do or die so they were they were able to set aside some of their differences but yalon ning ikoning fe wulanwe fa o ba fa ni na fe wulanwe it's something mengalon ka be but it so I think UDP has a greater role to play in this whole thing because nini molbe discussion like something like this and you were a part of one before like in 2016 and yalon ko menketa so what assurance do you give it to this one ko menketa atekela kotenke of course like I wrote a piece about this like irreconcilable differences they have trust issues. But we all know how coalitions work in other parts of Africa, the Rainbow Coalition in Kenya and so on. We have seen. So Nilbenil Puskandaming, come like these other people, if a UDP Puskandaming, UDP Mampare Tarawol. So UDP Fanambe Puskandaming, it's a Fanamampare Tarawol. So it's a better canto. But I think the biggest obstacle for a mensoro, Wellemco, atil baby searing alco aketa nyawnyan despite our differences maybe we can put our differences aside and come in with something else mengalonko we can like nin candidate was findi nonan bari adel la bunkono ko mel ka discourse o fana kata findo kata dulal wala mama candidate nil ba adele men kafunyo ma ada fana ko sika ta ko baroe so you can even see if you near barola psyche you bala ko nin so I think the whole issue is I don't think Hannah they agreed if they win election they form a government. What happened in 2016 17 coming down is the same thing that's going to happen because Nia Jube that was for me and I consider myself to be a very informed person but I think there's a very limited information coming out when it comes to issues like this will baby yellow so don't left a dollar, don't find left a dollar. So they could not put those differences aside. So okay, that major obstacle in this whole thing. And I think it's going to be a blessing as well. UDP, to go on their own. Remember Kafima. These other people too, Talib, Essa, whoever want to come and join them, can also come and join them, because nobody knows. Yalo nyambo fajundi farm water. I know nyambi moro niamute buloko ne yala ibukala be katila dan. So Menkera 2016, it can happen again. Nobody knows where this thing is going to come from. So political multi nyambi moro ni mamuta kwa be katila dami malo. It can come anywhere, because Gambian be situation on mendo saying is the same situation in Memko nearly 10 years ago. They want a change. So no matter what is going to give them that change, even if they're going to go to polls again back in 5 years' time, they will just remove this man and do it. So imagine guys, Mama Kande Bandeka join Coalition 2016. I could either him or no, ni matita at. But it was a blessing. The huge chunk of vote I remember, so I opened the Jamelako. Ni bama no mafu coalition of the villa, but Hannah Green Tabakela small margin. So let's say Barrow has all these 7 whatever I don't even know how much he has now with all this animal baker for the nyom. So you have UDP as well. Okay. So with all that, so now you yena kotenke this other force fanangana. Talib, Essa, whatever, those people also come with their FEMCO. This is a new, players in the field. So they might make a huge difference in this election, and they can even win election. So for me, don't underestimate anything. If one thing did not work, maybe that's something good for the country too. And governments can be like, okay, we can always change a government without, having a bigger political party to lead us. Or they can also argue and say, okay, you see, they said, we cannot win for the past 30 years, but here we won. We have won election. So it can be things like that.
Problem bosti but janni be bulara don lafte nyinin kala nyinna so nyinjenjo kiratanti nyame ete amirabe incumbent favola or do you think oppositional chance be na design to win natra nyinjenjo be caring and third force rota with UDP?
So yeah, kubang ninko bete moment signing Gambiano left a falling and any politician lem, even in the opposition, Niman Silo Mutanyanta Kamutanyami. They will feel like this is the person who can help us and get out of this. So listen, Barrow can be for the caring. Barrow is the most uncomfortable politician in that country. Munana is dying to bring all these people to his party. Munana be Mama Kanenoma. Because Yanako, the forces all mentioned back in 2021, those people cannot earn them any votes. Look, Yalon, there are people who have argued that the election 2021 election of Mankisenea. So Barrow, and that argument has some merits, because Barrow cannot win a landslide in a presidential election. Parliamentary election and I perform decimally, underperform. Local government election and I underperform. So this is something Mengalong it cast doubt in so many people's mind. So I don't think this situation favor Barrow, because now Barrow Barrow will not be running after Mama Kande, and who knows if they are doing their underground to see who is going to join them again. Because a foreman there, whether you know it or not, or whether they Barrow agreed or not, because Talib posed a bigger threat to his leadership. Because he a mentor, because he a political mentor can indulge they cannot use that to stain this guy. So that is a bigger problem. You have seen, I think, Sukuta Mitino, they publicly made comment about that. Minister Sol BJ. So even though they did not put their house in order, you can see Hamad Bekumado Fala, Barrow is trying to calm down the tension. Another minister Bekumado Fala. But even their approach, listen, this is a guy who just contests in a local government mayoral election. I fully win. He walked out of a party and formed. So you can see their fear is not the traditional opponents, but is a new person in the field, because of why he's going to be, or if not, another Mama Kande for them. Because anything can happen in this election. So, and Gambian Fanangaja, okay, these people have been crying for a while now. Let's do something and see if we can put effort together and see UDP a chance, because they've been telling us they can do this job. Let's see if Ninya Bero Faye.
And you can do it.
Let's give them 5 years and see. If they don't do it, let us take them out of office. But to answer your question, I think nim ko man baro febo de nim baro febo no nga mem fondo fal. He's the most uncomfortable politician right now, because forget about this new sabo member oppositional team, and this you see UMC and UDP at a loggerhead ila fenkol at loggerhead at each other. I think that dust is going to settle soon, and everybody like that, they will all turn to the common opponent, that is Barrow. And something is going to happen to him.
All right. Thank you so much, Nabos. 5 minutes deal, of course. Mr. Dampha, you left a phone call. Haji respond and some other things, and we give also Haji 5 minutes. I don't employ and all tijan. So, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Dampha. Ella response. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if I had wisdom to know, it would not have been reduced to UMC versus United again. But I've seen Haji taking a go at us. It is now very common. UDP goal guy, mom. We always expect it. But honestly, I think
it didn't follow Haji attack. It didn't follow Haji attack.
Just correct yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, let's revisit history. He sounds like this UDP worked out because part of the problem was us. The voting we had only one vote. The elections that happened where it was suggested that it's going to be candidate-led, we had only one vote. Just one vote, and they had only one vote. So I don't know how that comes down to UMC's fault. And let us not make it look like this is the first time UDP walked out in a coalition conversation. That's not the first time. In 2006, 20 years ago, UDP walked out in a coalition conversation with NAD when it was clear to them Hussein will not be selected. They boot out of the coalition conversation. So already history have that written, that's in the record. So it's not us. Just like how they have gone into this conversation in good faith, exactly that's how we went into the conversation in good faith. And the argument Buba Kafoko unite Bulatanying coalition conversation so that UDP can chicken out and then it'll like a third force. It's definitely very cheap. When this coalition conversation began, we had a meeting, we had an executive meeting where we cautioned our members, look, the coalition conversation is on. One of the agreements is we have to respect our partners. We don't need to say things that will make them feel less of themselves, right? And I think that was heated across the board. But we've seen members of the UDP, they are executive members, they were having the day that was announced, they were going on social media to express their dissatisfaction just for the mere fact that Unite is part of the coalition conversation. And their argument was Unite is just a movement.
I'm sorry Purki Kundu. Lafte nyinin kala nyina. So ilafta fulale na tara okay, yuko UDP chance de le nom purka win nying kachal nyindo. Ni for example ni UDP win tano. Like winter yuko double be kela candidate oti for 2026 coalition atele ba nyatom kala. For atol Unite albe bulala do normal.
Yeah. So before that, so we've already I was saying we've always respect coalition conversations.
No, but falbe bulala no normal. Albe bulala no normal. Falte bulala normal.
So the thing is, what I said before was that UDP, as any other political party, as far as or whatsoever movement, as far as you are in the conversation, you had the chance of winning, just like 2016. Halifa and all others, they contested, they all had chances of winning. So if we are in the coalition conversation, politics is it comes in different dynamics. And then I'm always very careful to say things in the future. While I'm in Gambia politics, jama, politician will be.
No, falbe bulala no UDP la candidate no manu, falte bulala no manu.
So the fact that they have moved out, the fact that they are not part of it, the conversation is going to be irrelevant because Buba, if I sit here, let's just be honest and let's be realistic. If I tell you ni UDP tambida no, wala ni to inje, wala it makes no sense anymore because they are not there. Nathre binun jela sign thing you ask me nathre sign nathre UDP la
No, but you can still answer this. Like, Kabri BJ, Natra, how does I want to be along Kachasi Murundandole? So,
okay,
funny UDP la candidate or
but reality is
Albe normal.
reality is they need to be along Kachata Muruna. No, they have left the conversation already. When they are back in the conversation, you ask me this question, I'll have answer for it. But if they are not back there,
let's say Kabrin Kachal that it Kuramaki, Muname Mutaring United Bulo as a executive member. Like Alebuneka that if it's Momo winter, Albebula normally, including UDP, right?
That's that exactly. That I love that question.
So including UDP, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. We went into the qualification.
Okay, if UDP is included, why then you people were not able to support Dabo Kabra flag bearer?
Dawa kira flag bearer wadima.
For UDP, you were the general Nibakuyal. Dawa kira flag bearer.
You mean? Oh, okay. You mean Munatna at what I mean?
If you are able to support Dabo, coalition Okono, Munana Alma support in UDP.
Buba, what do you do? You're conflating your questions. You ask a question before I respond. You put another question on top of it. You said that Neatra Misalfe coming maybe Nyokane and for new UDP Tambi Sona. We go into the conversation in good faith. And if you're going into the conversation in good faith, obviously whatsoever comes out, you accept it. That's the general norm. However, the dynamics can change. Anything can happen in politics. Anything can happen, right? But until na bo UDP though, I don't think it has a huge relation coalition conversation because we wouldn't even be in the conversation. There are chances Dabo can lead and the mal of Dabo leadership like UDP all are number. But in Mofo, we were in a table with them, we're having conversation with them, we're agreeing and disagreeing, not with them. Because I want you to understand, this is very common in all other platforms. This coalition is not about this, it's not UDP and Unite. It's and the conversation concentrated within around these two parties is going to be even disrespectful to other parties. There are other parties, they are very relevant. We believe they bring a lot of things on the table, right? So for me, if they were in the conversation, I'll be able to say that, but they are not in the conversation. For me, at this point in time, Bua, I see UDP as a completely different political party that is looking for something I'm looking for. For me, the political parties I'm seeing as partners, parties that I feel as we are in a conversation to change the country, is NUP, is definitely people that are in the conversation. I think that's where I'll keep my relevance to. But at the end of the day, Falang, if they left the party and I sit on this platform to say, if indeed then that will bring a whole discouragement. But for Haji Drong, before you stop me, let us not concentrate UDP coalition because Unite is planning for a third force or people are planning for a third force. I think that's a very, very cheap argument. In 2006, coming out for Nyamimbuba, there was no Unite. Perhaps Unite member from Dolfong maybe Maulu. What happened in 2006? Is that Unite fault? UDP were in coalition conversation with Khalifa and others. They chicken out. They left the conversation. So it's already there before. So for me, I can tell you, Omar before, just like that, this is going to be an election that is going to shock Gambians. Because it's going to be an election where Gambians will decide, not because this person is in this political party, not because that person is in this political party, but they will decide because there is no electricity. They will decide because there is skyrocketing of prices of goods. They will decide because there is insecurity. They will decide because they want somebody who has the wherewithal, has the competence, has the know-how, has the history, has administrative and governance history to change the country. And hopefully they will decide no other person that Mayor Taliban Suda.
All right. Thank you so much, Ibrahim. Haji, go ahead. Jadi birana topic doro ya. All right. Haji mute. Okay, go ahead, side. Okay.
Okay. Buba baraka bake. I equally don't want to
Alsalom ko Haji mam kurawale soro wala na alba jaga de bar alba kamo mala kurawale man raje ya. Go ahead.
Exactly myself, I don't want to make this thing Unite UDP issue, okay? But like Yalo, I don't also want to listen to this information on public mislead. Not 2026 was a whole
just
different
to say, Haji, you can turn off your video, put your voice clear because y'all more big just signed it. If I look at voice begin clear because I don't know. You signing crown that you can turn it on.
Sal Kamuela.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't follow video
Dampha
is switch off if that helps.
Purna video in switch off.
Go ahead. I think after it's switch off door, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Let them understand that there's now a problem. All not on. So
okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Left all to go. 2006 Buba. UDP agreement, became realistic because NAT was registered. Okay. UDP it was not about Usindabo candidates. You cannot register a political party and you want to contest elections under that ticket at Wakra. When they won the election, when they went to that election, again, parliamentary seat what happened to their parliament for by elections again? So UDP agreement was not about UDP being by force leading that coalition. Yes, was part of the intention and the position that the party should lead the coalition. But again, the agreement was that you cannot register NAT as an organization while political parties are going to contest, and those political parties are registered under IEC. Okay. So when they disregard the advice of Usindabo, what happened to them? They won election by force. They are registered automatically. Jammeh took advantage. So that was a whole different goal. So coming to the issue of like Nyinka Dampha Kamel signed, like those are very cheap. Maybe maybe you go and inform people or update people. They are not connected. Okay, but Nyinka because it was not because of principle on policy, principle on governance, may anybody UDP. It is simple because they only want means victimized. Just because of he's not okay. So all have resigned. And you can go all through their resignation letters. The principle was not that UDP, the governance system, is bad. No. The principle is bad. It's a larger document like Talib is supposed to be the one selected, or else nobody should lead. So if Talib was not selected, then what happened is they have to go and form their own movement and then to propagate the agenda of Talib. In fact, because now that they designed anyway, on principle, like they have different view or that ideology with the UDP, one would have understand. But the also came during flag bearer application process. So there's no way to wait Talib will be selected. Then they gang up and form propaganda resignation tactics. So coming to this on 2026, the same way they were trying to infiltrate the UDP, that is the same way they transfer to this coalition 2026. And Nimo is about Bundibo, my brother. I feel like I feel Koloja. Niela Perol Mepeng, movement me along with the 14 movements. Even Ibrahim cannot tell those movements some of them were found on street, and they were convinced to go and apply for or to go and be participating in this coalition negotiation. In the voting criteria, or in a political party registered fulfill all the requirements under the law as IEC is concerned across the country. Wolia right means some right given to entities. So they term every political party, each political party has an entity. Even if you, Buba, you came there as a registered aspirant, a candidate, you are going to be termed as an entity, and the right that Doi has in making decisions there, the same right you will have. If I should bring 10 delegates, you should also 10 delegates. That is pretty secure. Amelia Woken, tell so with Amelia Woken. From people may along they were even with the Kamen Fontele and Menke. It was UMC who was behind most of those phone calls. But again,
Haji, be serious, Haji.
A bigger problem. Ibrahim, yalon del na bigola political la mal foiba I don't know whether you agree with me or it's your right to disagree, but I don't propagate lies. Anything I'm telling in politics, take it or leave it. If you don't believe me today, tomorrow you're going to take it and see it, okay? I have nothing against Talib or any. I'm into
billahi, on a good consent and a good info, I find something that is connected to Wala Nankaf. Okay? Those movements are purely sponsored by Unite, just to come and form a majority so that they can have that, decision in terms of voting. That's what exactly happened. All the recent political parties, they only got 3, including Unite. Wale stand with this candidate and the one entity, one vote, one voting. All the registered political parties went against it. But Muna Nilkara in favor of that one. Well, I for Ibrahim, because Ibrahim before today, I'm not in that Ibrahim today. And if you know political, the history of politics in this country here, you'll just avoid, rejecting what I'm saying and do your investigation independently. You'll come to the conclusion that what I'm telling you is the fact. So you cannot answer the question simply because it is because UDP, that is what led Talib resignation. And all those who followed him is because Talib is not chosen. They thought that Talib was victimized. What happened? He resigned from the UDP. How do you have the same people, again, on principle, to go and support the same candidate of their parent party to go and form their movement? So logically, it doesn't hold water. United. So new United Roda, you invite. Technically, reject because more by you people are discriminating. So to show that you people are tolerant, I'll come but we go with our tricks on good faith. I will laugh because I know it's not on good faith. In that right there, it's a good faith. Right. Then your superiors to them is not a good faith. It's a tactic of no. They have an executive meeting called United should desist from or refrain from talking bad against political party in town. Ning candidate led ning and this starts MC champion follow the info. Kapoko, anything that UDP led here, that coalition would fail. And that time, it was during this coalition negotiation that this MC Cham Jr. said, UDP, he knows, will quit from this coalition negotiation, but to them, they will a third force, and that third force will succeed. That was during at the infant stage of this coalition negotiation. So you come in here, somebody, your senior, and then your founding fathers, one of your founding fathers. One of MC Cham Jr. That was start on media.
He said my senior.
Of course, he's MC Patela on the UDP. So he's your senior. Nico senior here, for age. I mean, in establishing the UMC. So it can member down. Aning membela more or monkey. It can member down. Anila member. This is not Unite versus UDP. Once again, let me be clear. But it's UDP against anything that can put the country and UDP's image tomorrow in a kind of that what to work so clearly until we believe that there will be a coalition, but the coalition may not have a formula genuinely. I know I agree with some of your analysis. Maybe without United Bond, Gambia would not have a government against the
how many given to Haji?
All right. Dampha is right. Thank you so much.
Are you still referencing the 2021 election?
Thank you so much, Haji. Thank you so much. So, Mirana topic dotole. Dampha need some response, or maybe you can be narrator.
No, I have no response.
You have no response.
I have no response. Do you know why? Because honestly, I have huge respect for Haji, and honestly, in a conversation like this, I know Buba, there will be hundreds of people watching this. I would prefer to respond to an allegation. It has an iota of evidence. So definitely in the Tarnola Jang, Haji Kafoko, Yini evidence
for the first time United
no so definitely I cannot respond something that is huge of an allegation without no evidence, without no corroborated storyline. I will just put it where it is. I'll just leave it to the air. Definitely.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking that. Thinking that you are smart.
Thank you so much. Miranda topic dotole. Of course, albe alon ne ko honorable Mama Kande kira bolti be alon ko at joint of course NPP da mi alon ko adi NPP be alliance kala saying a political parties say le betara the National People's Party come I hear of the 2026 presidential election. Mama Kande dol ko ya jele dum bar dol ko ma jedu Mama Kande bita because of call mi alon ko ale fo bari opposition la carola. Mama Kande mun sembele soto pour que oppositional affect wala pour que winning di balia wala tin of course nga tuba mare soto jande mi alon ko of course tuba mare mi alon ko data scientist olem mole mi alon ko well okay tuwa jande be soto la ngana bo soto le Essa, welcome to the program jande bira na topic do
Bo abaraka bake budu malum benkela nyamen because mantra suo fon kono.
No,
So
Ningela
malagina
voice,
video from
Ningela voice is good. I know Ila voice is very clear.
but I
So,
don't know for how long bitano nyina nyamen dal. Malam for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I don't know.
okay. So memin kachaka memin namin conclude science and intending well now this candidate led and also party led coalition UDP oppositional tema I withdraw ta nyame ngajele Mama Kande fanam bota nyin kachaltu la tata baroya ngajele pap fanam withdraw tale but nying party led and candidate led it have a jumale feasible tabaki when it comes to coalition formation.
Abaraka bake, as I said, malong nanti jam fanola dal. But anyway, mbela gesol fanan kontona Ibrahim Touba. I wish I could join this special panel earlier and then more time sort of to discuss. But just to throw in a few words, like, I mean, party led. Well, Gamal Molka have a candidate led. I believe he's both candidate led because I didn't know if they candidate over president. So I would say convention led. So I don't know why people say candidate led. Because
Maybe Gambian will call it understand back.
Yeah, well, convention led or party led, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
but okay, I will come to that in terms of feasible tab. But yalong okay, nganyim fallen in the past. Like for me, there is no hard and fast rule kafako. This must happen. Yeah. So Dolbeje in certain political, arrangements, maybe like you have a party led, depending on the strength of the political party. You can go to some Melialonko like maybe convention led, but even that bigger party and smaller party, Fenko Fanang, Wafanang sometimes, smaller parties say lead no, but it depends on the political arrangements, right? And also, some of the policy issues, Melialonko, they could probably influence, the outcome of the elections. But in most arrangements, Fanamenka Kebuba, and sometimes it's hard to say because igana jibe party jama beje wal be kala feka moy dal in most senko menka feasible back wala muko you go for with the party with the bigger numbers, right? Because elections are about numbers. You understand, if you are interested in winning elections, you probably think of Jumale be larger share samalanang of the votes, and that's what you go in for because that is what is feasible. But ekanaje ko fanang at some point so dul kamen fanang jibe wole muko. What is at stake depending on the candidate, for example, me present that to the people, right? Natar nunko, this is a candidate probably me alonko is likable among the voters. Yeah, that could give chance to to that coalition. But nde amira Gambia la situation of Benjamin sign thing. And we just have to be honest with each other, right? There are some of these groups that I don't even call political parties. And they can menje wole muko mulka political party formed in Gambia just because in a fakala president otile. And ngamira ko that is the highest level of disrespect to the Gambian electorate. Council oppositional bejele, parliamentary positional bejele, and all other positions meli alonko, mol se contest no. But it become mol je mamba wol sifa la funding election or sifa. So if you go into the political or coalition arrangements with the UDP, for example, Me Alonko is a well-structured, and of course the biggest opposition party in the country. Sometimes when you cannot even bring anything on the table, you cannot even organize a meeting, put in agree no on that. But for me, I think right now, for me, work it's something me it's not going to work because I know for certain UDP will never be part of any coalition me manta lead la. But I also know any coalition UDP and lead ngal ne party dol beje wolta tulaji. Ibe fintilale. Because they will never also be part of any coalition me alonko UDP are lead. So at this stage, I don't know if I use fang sort of the fang because I didn't. It's not going to work. We will never have a single opposition coalition in the Gambia ahead of the December elections. I doubt that seriously. I hope I can be proven wrong, but I seriously doubt that. So, Ngamira Gambian was saying the ball is in their court. I think UDP withdrawing from that coalition talks. Definitely, I respect UDP's decision, and I think it was the best decision. Because at the end of the day, better than your timely waste la. UDP to son in a coalition little man lead la. And of course, here for Bolling, because at the end of the day, numbers better level. And elections, numbers matters in elections, right? So other parties 2 million on ko baje kan ko well ndolute sonna wala just kana don kabula mono mawonyama. I think it is within their rights, but also inyanta men consider la more ndi amena men nyanta jibe la more wole muko policy alignments because near coalition building jibe in most political arrangements more ka interest men na is more of policies rather than jumale bekela leader. You understand? Ninjidi for UMC, for example, there are policies on education, for example, and UDP la policy on education. Maybe Yajako GDC UMC la policy on education is more progressive. Probably you see how to align those things, right? Well, in advanced democracies, matured political cultures, so sifa policy alignment so the GB, ya GB ko juman la policy better in this particular sector or area. But Gambia, it's more about, Jumale be kela leader rather than policy GB. So I think for now, Memphis Bulta, Buba, it's going to be difficult to say because I don't know if if I'm a fan of bank. But I think Gambian gentlemen GB the party that is going to bring numbers, of course. And yeah, GB signed and UDP hands down. But whether that's something that they are going to agree to is
So Essa, go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
after cooking in Fanamfola, in convention led and in party led, Buba. You see, I mean, this was something that I had in mind, and I think I just need to give credit to this guy, Aliu Sisi of QTV. I came across his post on Kerfatu 2 or 3 days ago, and exactly the same thing about the Fokang. Niko convention led or party, I mean, you can the candidate led, as I said, I don't know. So Niko convention led or party led. Now, the principle they will be Membina as a candidate, for example, in a convention led is going to resign from his party, right? Or their party. Let me be gender sensitive here. From their party, and then contest as independent, just like it happened in 2016 with Barrow, right? Now, new man in let's say Usainu Dabo Yak Atele Imalta as the winner, right? Another resigned from the UDP a contestant. A winter, coalition of winter. Jumani the guarantee Usainu Dabo will not go back to UDP. Because that's what Barrow wanted. If Barrow had stayed with UDP, ni UDP ni Barrow Mankuyanu, Barrow was going to go back to UDP. Because at some point, from 2017 parliamentary election time, Wako Atemu UDP led. Right? So ni UMC the winter, Talib, Jumani guarantee ko Talib the Burla UMC. You understand? So at the end of the day, because Dabo will not look at his party IFA, okay? UMC will not, Talib will not look at the party and has trouble to build IFA fanang. So at the end of the day, Kabori Mena Wolemko, okay, UMC cannot in power or UDP cannot in power. Eventually, only been Alabama because there is no legal framework, there is no constitutional backing or legal backing. Me along is use no Kafuko, Usenu Dabo. No, you cannot go back to UDP. You understand? Talib, you cannot go back to UDP. So we'll go back to the same thing. And near Mama Kande will move Gibe, for example. I had Mama, well, I'm not very surprised. But Mama Nga Moila Nungana interviewed Ako at a party led like UDP after men and all that. But another Baro is party led. For party led the board of Anand, right? So I think at some point, so genuinely, I think most of the stakeholders in this coalition talks are not genuine. If I mean you blame game, but you might blame no la Carle responsible, the Carle responsible. But the coalition of my work is just going to be in Barrow's favor.
So ninja be nyamente Essa ite amira ay jumale febo. Like, do you think what incumbent or do you think nin third force sort of and also UDP yala own coalition or sort of, do you think opposition le febo la?
I think that's a straightforward thing, When you work and incumbent male favor, I'm more favor na incumbent is the only winner in this, right?
Okay.
But that first point you can for I mean, yeah, Mama could have, been a great contributor to that third force, to strengthening that third force. But then, if probably because politics, especially electoral politics, kukilimbeje me alon ko mulka jutala, it can greatly influence the outcome of elections. Akamenke wole mo ko government ko party disillusionment, right? Mulka tale for ye particular day, ye disillusion with party politics, certain moves that are, lack of unity among the opposition is a threat to democratic consolidation anywhere in the world, right? So, ning moves load keta by certain political figures, men and their influence in the country. I can't model kajikila take the data and you can is game over. I'm not even going to disturb myself. So, voter apathy kasi wala nyama. And yakoro si Gambia the political history ya. Jamela time akita nung ning opposition unity man so the molka you can is game over. Amanjaring from Batan the Jame is gonna win. So until 2016, Kabin coalition was sort of that in the Mujamana Rafako. Oh, well, I think I think because hope sort of that, right? So Kandala you move fan and bowlers it and the Jamala. Kabila Katadoro come this is game over. Even Barrow himself said game over, right? So Mojama became many and Kundala, they want opposition to come to power. If they mean Fenkala Wolemuko, okay, Ningo Kanya Bandala had him from Batandi. Do we just never catch from a fire? Well, I love about diaspora Kata Gambia, but now you'll have a new bandale, it's game over. So work up voter apathy le samana voter apathy anywhere aka incumbent de favor because mostly incumbent na voter soul ila supporter soul ka fink ka katro fay so opposition or the neutral voters all in the government the nanging Gambia government neutral because for me I don't think there's any like neutral voter I don't know if they give a katro fay ba fay that blood you understand
Yeah.
but yeah, so those so-called neutral voters wala kana don't they will like bikata son ka carte fay no kata do incumbent ka carte votes win so mama la nyinga me da bore kala gala but I think also that force you say imagine like depending on you still have the APP Soria, you still have the UMC, you still have the DOI. I think at some point ning genuine conversation on sort of policy alignment so sort of your leadership coining e kana kila main priority policy alignment on GB, the Gambian or Fenkanola Nyaming. I think a formidable task force could emerge. And what emerge that is just as I've always been saying on other programs, a game on in Fenkala by yellow light. It's going to open the game. And then maybe Barrow could win, the UDP camp, of course, backed by some opposition parties could win, but also the third force could win. So election on in the Gena Fenkala, but new woman care. So the third force in depend to Taraji. It's not just Kafadronko. Okay, UMC is the third force. That's it. No, Barrow still has advantage, and I think he's going to win. With a convincing majority.
All right, thank you so much, Esa. Ngalo ibe silole kang.
So ngal dal be bulalale no.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate bakele, of course, kadang be ba fenkele le purun na program model. So thank you so much, Esa, for coming. So midana topic do tole, nyun topic on be kachal of course Mama Kandela join ola NPP opposition olu be silarinde. But say wala nga data scientist so nati jang mimo tuba mareti pour a fomole. Mama Kandela sembo be nyadi le science and now Natamba Jibera, Mama Kande multi mialon ko kabrin 2016 aka contest election la ando aka fenkol sotole minketa aka fenkol sotole milketa National Assembly membalti but kabo 2021 fala sembo be talakan fo molu yakata abe milbulu faba bulle ani sang wala nanga tuba mari soto jang of course be Haji Fanan sotola and also Ibrahim Dampha pour ya fo mole a better oppositional effect la nyaari tuba sembo mol be min fokan ko be mama bulu asibaro winini no election wala now do you think was sembo babulle hanisai natara yikiskisro ke nyum ko la data bi alo ko le be science
Bua baraka bake mama kandela ta baro ya akono fanutale ni la faka jibe fo sembo bawul fo sembo tawul akono fanuta bake me akono fanundi in 2016 covering election bekekang Mama was the third force, Mbemma Fukan coalition, the incumbent, and the third force. And her performance was really good, at least, looking at the status quo at the time. And her performance better. But at the time, I 89,768, I was Lesotho, thereabouts. I will vote Lesotho. But in 2021, Mama, obviously, all parties load fire. Mama 105,902. So Molka will reference Mama has 105,902. Molka will reference ko sembo babule mome will come in infensor. No la fara moka mea will come in infensor. Yalo wala neko game over, but game man overflow. Game man kumasi sabrase over. Ibina jubele NPP fanan barama jamal le bibul meltato. Wol kono mbemem fora wala keba madi bojante keba madi mu kombon koldi be bikela motije. I think keba madi a very good force in Jambur and Kombo South. Mele Alonko, they were behind him, and of course Attila Force was with the NPP and Sai keba manta only any MPP problems sort of like we have also seen his confrontation with the immigration officers, which of course Iba aligned towards the NPP. So that I don't know if I can call it animosity, but that big that big problem is there. So Kebala Moldata now Mama Natata Jana. Could someone say, "Oh, Barrow gained as much as he lost"? So something like that. It's a balance. No matter what kill one another. But say left up to reference data as specific as possible. Mama la kujibe. Lafaka fendo fana vome alonko. I'll go into it through specification kala wale. Mama Kande in 2016, obviously, APRC loto nunga fayene. So I would say ko mol believe ta nam fana ko ay mo jamal bondi APRC kono o setara no jele. But safo ko ay mo bondi APRC kono at that time. Wol ngan yo bayne wala na wol bore APRC itati karti fire. In 2021, ala karfina Russia, but it is a known fact ko APRC are back. Jambe diamtanung at the Buva zone. I don't remember the day, but now the campaign period length. I think Lamin Tamba was the one member Kanasor Lola on the day. Jambe diamta through WhatsApp and other for APRC in Koliako. Menula mel bat noma melia matela kumo sozo. Mama. And I think that effect left a wale someone and Puruka Bonde. And then Mamala performance ketanyaming in certain constituencies and districts. Then Mul say as a few found Hakilo Buliajako, whether Anisa Mama Mulbabule. Mama ye Fenkol Finansoro, I will just do the quick recaps. Mama ye National Assembly member Sotonune after 2016, I believe. But in 2021, Malaya moment no Omar Sisenyol man Palazzo man now Sotono Kodenge. I'm a moment. So now I'm a moment in Alamulta. Let's look at a few facts here. I'll look at the APRC effect in it. So APRC predominantly, so APRC predominantly, Mulka Jeleko, obviously, Jamela Foni Kansalale in Kanilai. So Jamela APRC is Semboso the bag of Foni Konole. Throughout the Gambia, you can go to Kombo South, Kombo East, Duralto, Yesembo Sorojele, Talendinol, but let's just look at, let's say, Fonyeme along Kolatako, Jamba always swipe the polls, Nina, the Fonila Carola. Mamala, 3 best performances in 2016, quantitatively, just the mere quantity of numbers. All Yundum, Lower New Mining, Upper Newmi. Walemun Mamola best performance in 2016. All Yundum Kona I 7,342 sort of. Lower Nyomi 6,191. Upper Nyomi Kona I 4,117 sort of. And the worst performances in 2016 by numbers, there are 53 constituencies. Most of them, I would say the last 10 worst performances. Rank number 10, Womukiang Westlet. Mama ye only Fenkole Sotodo. I 417 votes less Sotodo in Kiang West. Nina ada Foni Jarola 416 votes I was Sotodo. Well, ala 9 worst performance. But ala worst fango, Womu Janjambure the 58 votes done by Walla Soto in Janjambure. Second worst performance. Womu Foni Kansalale, Jambe Bora Tundo Menka. 103 votes, I was at percentage-wise, 2% number of votes in the Foni Kansala, Mama Yodambalso. But Nina 2021 corner, Foni Kansala became Mama's 4th best performance. 4th best in the out of the 53 constituencies in Melbourne Gambia corner. Ala 4th best, ala second to last worst performance, Wolakan ala 4th best. So it's in a Jambela effect, the Jambe Kuala Fire, I think that became eminent here. Foni Kansala, Mama went on to score 6,121 votes compared to, I mentioned on 103 votes to 6,000 plus. I will sort of in ranking, Kabringa rank, 4th best, I will sort. Dibota je fonyi bintan kono ndebota tundo menna fonyi bintan karana kabda me fonyi bintan karana mama ye 5,887 votes so what they call a sixth best performance in 2021 nitare fonyi bintan jibe fonyi bintan became ala third to last worst performance will be able ranking. So the Fonyi's rank among his worst performance in 2016. Then you go to 2021, the Fonyi's became one of his best performances. And these are Jame known areas. So if I go science and Mama Lata NPP, Mala Fonyin called Sambala Mama because Mama did not become president.
So 2021 sa fono le ko aning APRC Nord Alliance la coalition or
wale Jamale Diara. And if all Jela Diamond, near Mantara base kam percentage diamal ka okay in 2016 fanan mol melu register wala doyata then 22 mel register bari ebe o ko ni na rajibe because of registration ajibe rek mama 2016 kon ala all yundum la best performance I 7,342 I want to sort of in all yundum mere quantity but what all yundum killing up wala in 2021 I 6,000 sort of even though 2021 wole mol siata mele carte fa mel register but he still has less compared to kabri mol be there so you could see the discrepancies if in 2016 siata 2020 mol sia nya umamma makana nita la fa ko combo south samane because combo south obviously it will move one of the heavyweights the nina electorate la it will lemu serkunda west kata buzumbala nyol it will mol ka sia bakale kata serkunda is nyol so mama la best performance in 2021 abotanang combo sable but obviously ala best performance in 2016 botanang all yundum so nina let's say even talindim kunjanyol you can say go APRC siata jele obviously nte sita non talindine so I can attest to that nina talindim kunjanjubi mamala performance he ranked 15th ala best 15th performance in 2021 keta talindim kunjan but in 2021 ala 34th best performance kunjan. So you could see the APRC effect is everywhere seen. So now about GDC, I don't think Jambe will release another audio or give a commandment or rather give a command rather to the APRC folks, Kafeko, Mamatara NPP, Alta, Alebulano Maje, Aleka Refa Baroning, Mamaye, Anila NPP mall. I'm not going to foresee that. They will predict Lano. You understand? So the APRC effect CR jail. The Nina NPP Jube, Keba Madinyo Laboje, and then the other guy, I think Malik Kamara, Malik Fananyol will be able to Bodaje, Mojamal Fanana Soro, Menulia resigned from NPP, Ufananciatale, the Sidinja effect within NPP, audio mail and so on. A lot of things happened in recent times. The Nawekla Kual Fanan Kuranka Mankinune, there was a time, not long ago, I think last month or so, there was a period of time consistently. A lot of things happen. They are also going to affect the NPP. So Mamala Taji, I can't say for certain ko Ibela Fala men as no member the JSCN Ibela Parliament. But people can't also go back to 2021. Ye Mamala cartel GBJ ala performance the 105,000. I was just saying how thousands and thousands has been added because of Jambe's voice. Now, if you take that away from them, so many things is against the incumbent. Umar Baji, the late Umar Baji la Saya Fana, which is, the PIU, which are under the government executive. So will baby now like to accumulate pro government effect. So Mama Yetaje nya. Mama is just an opposition. He is an opposition. He have numbers, but what a borrow for a number letter. Mama la number sembo in 2021. If you know of any APRC strongholds, you can tell me and I will tell you how he performs across the two periods. But these are like a lot of observations. I've also done a ranking of the worst performance in 2021. Banjul Central, I 306 votes. Kiang East, 61 vote. So that's the 53rd rank Nina in 2021. But if you go Banjul GB in 2016, Mama Mankuma Walto, even though it was a little better at those times than in 2021. So mole Mama Muta Abedamin about that. So maybe we'll have enough ako mbatungadung baroya. Nonetheless, Melola Jamfolo, if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to know Jabi, but I will give you an opportunity.
So lafta because model fana mi faka wala mindiko especially about that URR aning CRR ma fa wala malum fo ye jibere ala performance be je nyaade
Yes, Jimara kono, right? So 1 second, Jimara Jibe jam. If you look at Jimara specifically, Mama 30% of votes less Sotoji in terms of percentage. I 3,207 Sotoji. It ranks 5th best. Our best performances about now all yundum lower nyomi upper jokadu then Jimara. Well, I will number sort of 3,207 also the Jokada 5th best performer. 30% of the votes in Jimara. Neighbor J in 2021. Mama nada 21.25% of votes in Jimara sort. So percentage-wise are jitale, but number-wise, just mere quantity, another 4,051 sort. So whatever Nansiata, I mentioned sort of in 2021. But it also became his 11th best performer. So in terms of ranking, a jitale, in terms of mere quantity, a seletale, in terms of percentage, a jitale. So among consistency, so they have go by ranking, by quantity, and also by percentage, Mama be kafukane in Jimara. So njikita Barrow ya domo Jimara konola. Of course, Barrow is the incumbent. So resources ba blule, ferrol ba blule, and then about domo le jele. But Buba, this number thing is not just limited to Mamala Tajana and so on. IEC has a bigger role to play there. Levaka was somewhere and demanding. I was just making my jottings. Now UDP. So this one will be reference to UDP la press release. Because they were talking about IEC, then later went on a standard newspaper in other sonko to discrepancy sort of. According to UDP, a press statement, other parties they are also going to file their claim coming but press statement they withdraw numbers this way the discrepancy. So I will make this with reference to UDP info. IEC announcement mention 212,095 votes supplementary registration the later they provided to parties 179,445 yadi party. So a discrepancy of 32,650. Your announcement a higher number, they supply parties a lower number, and 32,650 is a lot of numbers. Remember, the other election in 2016 was won by less than that. Was I think actually less than 20,000, because percentage-wise, Barrow coalition was 43%. Jamena Lamol, where the APRC was 40%, 3% difference. But Jan, you could see a big difference of that 32. But if you go, IEC later admitted, according to a press conference call, they later admitted there were omissions. In other addition, 3,713 votes in other Olafa, which later accumulated to 183,163, still leaves a gap of 28,932 out. IEC later claims 14,334 should have been deducted because he believed a almost double registration that. Even whereas that happened, that still leaves a gap of 14,598 unaccounted for. So IEC still have a bigger role. So previously, you remember UDP in 2021, Ibita caught because elections man fair. The numbers were misleading. Barrow 400 and something thousand sort of Asiata Bakare. And then at that time, you were wondering, but you can't doubt it because IEC is the sole body responsible for election. Near MEM4, Lola until proven otherwise. So maybe if UDP case had gone to court and we had an opportunity to listen to them, maybe to like case Minamwela, but because technicalities, it was thrown out. But then it so sort of like for the first time in Gambia, I went on live now for 1996 and 2016. IEC repeatedly has presented total ballot mealonko. It was faulty, and that faulty numbers were what was announced and accepted, and precedents came out of that to represent the republic at the time. Therefore, in terms of like overall outcome, they will not be precedents, but the scale on which they were projected to be precedents were not true. But then who really knows in reality, Minaketa behind the scenes? Now that IEC admitted there were omissions, could these omissions have been happening in the past? But it never came, and now that UDP and other parties took a step forward to make sure they are part of registrations, they are part of everyday validations, they are part of everything that was checked from the first day registrations happened to the end, and talk to IEC including all political parties. Now, allow the data share with us so that we can validate along the line. But in the form of Benfaham, how could IEC do a printout of numbers, yet there were omissions? Kabria print out before you post it in public. Why can't you verify it? Why can't you validate it? Why can't you cross-check it kajako? Na nanga moment announce left a mem print wole bejang. Whereas there were omissions in the printout, you must be able to communicate ahead of time. Now print out, these are the numbers omitted and these are the reasons for their omission. If you see raw numbers and you don't understand them, come to us and we will give you what happened. But then without opposition parties going to confront IEC, we might not have known this. Could it have been happening in the past? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I do know for a fact, in the past, numbers were reported, we were not right. And that's why most of career election lose. But then who knows what really had happened?
Exactly.
So there's so much to this.
There's so much. There's so much. Because this time ICA admit le already ko mistake all bijele and ya admit le ko mol bijele mi along ko mantra jel listor tabane wala no ngamira mo jamal man lela in Gambia they don't want to trust the IEC haji la network ko bida kan but bida Ibrahim yale jandembe murane kan laftale jokado jube nye jandembe murane kan la performance in jokado Ibrahim Allah ñin third force mimbe fokanno jamale min fon wala mi diko natara kande jointa nunje at least abe wait sura la bagal adu ya moyle esa ñi repeat le is a political science lecturer science kandela ta baroya atelier ñi move je ñaadi la dabe mutara atol kulu ñaadi.
Yeah, no, I think Gambia and for in politics, even if you lose one number, that number is capable of making you lose elections. Especially an election system is based on simple majority. And more clean amari say amari more than one vote like win. So a political figure like Mama Kande. So I always want to be real to myself, and the reality is Mama Kande lata I want to believe abe oppositional bill affect la, because obviously nakara aka mol min samba barokan will be oppositional led amanka ko barola mola holle la fa baroka. Obviously it can be argued before akara baroya la mo jamalta, but still mama abe relevant len and then any number at all. However, whether that is going to influence these upcoming elections is something me alonko is debatable. Ndela believe momenti walanko at the end of the day, Gambian or mi alonko itara milmanta milbe baro all of them know what is happening in that country. Nobody need to drop something. Nobody need to say something special to anyone pre-alonko ning election min kanaitan and clarify me, because it's simple and straightforward. Everyone knows what is happening in that country. The reality for sometimes we don't also want to not only look at the things at surface level, but ninata jibe mama leta kata barokan. Also look at Janim Mama Kata Barokan, what is Mama status quo? Even though Mama was third, ala ranking in terms of the last presidential election, Molka Foko, okay, 2021, 70-something thousand, sorry, 2016, 70-something thousand, sorry, 2021, 100+ thousand, sort of. But a lot 100+ thousands, what did it give him? Ama mako a presidential election win. Ama mako even a single National Assembly seat win. Before presidential election, 4 National Assembly seats, whatever. It was 5, obviously. At other by-elections, Labaroya win. He was left with 4. The National Assembly elections, nada. He ended up with 0. I can't even remember if Mama have won even, mayor elections. He won nothing, except obviously he endorsed Taliban Bensouda. But council elections, we can count. I don't even believe he won any. So where me and the Wolonko, obviously he's going, like I keep saying, he's going with numbers, and opposition should not downplay it. But in fact, it could could even turn out to be oppositional carrot. No one knows how it will turn out. For me, I think what opposition's nyenta focus la minkang now, because Mama is gone, you can't bring him back. And then, you can feel bad about a circumstance, but you cannot blame him extensively for that, because even I mean Jibe Wolongo Nying opposition, yeah, most of these opposition parties, when they get broke, they are left with very few options, especially recently mama ka activity on ninke nung aning saka activity time mama every 2 weeks about boholo lola urolo kumala mama kolo wonila. But now mama akarale for 5-6 months nobody sees mama. Yeah, I understand. So I don't want to speak bad about him because nabe opposition about opposition atata baroya, because that would look like, okay, you're saying good things about him, then he moved you after him. But I want to
is
say,
it that about la third force jim comme esa ya fanyame as a affect no le sembo nyanta mi sorola no ata sorola anymore.
I mean, if you look at it at surface level, obviously I can move. He is a political figure and he's moving with people. If you just look at that at surface level, the reality is he's moving with people, and the people that he is moving with, they were not going to vote for Barrow, they were going to vote for him, right? But now let us also Kabrim Mama Fala moved, because in a political party, Mama did not move as an individual, he moved as a political party, GDC.
Yeah.
At this current state in time, Mama Party Kabra moved to GDC. I can tell you, all executive econo, there are even more people, me alonko, he resigned our party and they joined Unite specifically. Kabri Mama moved.
Oh, really?
All those, yeah. There are,
so Jumala resigned, they joined earlier.
just wait for when GDC do their pressure, then you see names coming up. I can tell you at this point in time, there are at least 5 GDC national executive members, Mili Alonko. They have resigned and they are now members, bona fide members of Unite. So, and all those people also, they command numbers.
You mean top members? Top executive members?
You will see, let me tell you one thing. In politics, national presidents, no, those people don't mobilize. You know the people that mobilize? The regional mobilizers, the youth mobilizers, the world mobilizers. Those are the people that carry numbers. The national president, vice president, they don't even see people. They are not that much important. What I can tell you is there will be executive members in Mamala camp, Mili Alonko. You will see them resigning immediately, effectively, and joining Unite. And you'll be the one counting it, inshallah. I can also tell you, Mamala Nyinta GDC, ala mol mimmina Unite, none of the political parties will benefit that. So near Mamala movement of GB to ala movement from the opposition conversation kata NPP kan ntala miroto among the oppositions. I can't compare with the NPP, but among the oppositions, it benefit Unite more than any other opposition political party, because already yes, obviously.
The UDP some of these people are going to join them, and you're saying already five executive members resigned. They are already members of Unite, and it will favor Unite.
They were always had the opportunity to join UDP. Have you been seeing people cross-carpeting from GDC to UDP? You can count them. But
some people cross-carpet. Maybe Mama endorsed Talib
let me finish
during the mayoral election because Talib was UDP.
Let me finish my statement. So
MC Cham, right? MC Cham.
The number of people that have cross-carpeted, from NPP, from GDC to NPP, Jani Mama Fanka move is literally 100 times more than Milian GDC Kada UDP. Like you can count. I don't know of any. You can help me, but I can name you at least 5 executive members. Milian GDC, Ibora GDC, Itara NPP, and then at least science and then Tosafonoko. At least we have MC Chamimbo Mamalaka. Milian on top there. Different from the ones that are low. So right now, the belief I have.
MC joined the new UDP, so I'll
MC for UDP la.
You cannot count.
MC for UDP.
What we are just doing right now is just like new player from Manchester United, another Arsenal, and then another Real Madrid. You want to call him an Arsenal player? He's a Real Madrid player.
Okay, I'll bulle.
No, I'm telling you, we're collecting from everyone. People don't understand. We're collecting from everyone. We're collecting from everyone. So the thing is, what I'm saying here is that Nying election, at the end of the day, Buba, all these people moving, my belief is Gambians at the end of the day will vote on reasons related to public services, will vote on reasons related to corruption and lack of accountability, will vote for issues related to irregular electricity and infrastructure challenges. They will vote for issues related to corruption, the issues related to life and livelihood, issues related to the food that they eat. Okay. Because but about America, you don't know, but like people that are on the ground. People that are on the ground, bro. There are people in the ground on the ground. Me and sometimes they more condemn the kasima. Ni sima de bukadasa. So no believe me, Wolongo, people will vote on those reasons. And I can tell you, a day in politics is long. There will be so many changes before this democracy. Okay, and it will be on a lot of factors, inshallah.
Memurane kana haji ite multibialo go GDC la tajano junale. So GDC la move a battle affect la nyadi le na tara ite believe tele ko abala affect la.
If Haji is still here.
Buba.
Yes, nke mwele Haji.
Alka mwele?
Nke mwele.
Okay. Yeah, GDC, yala political, I want to be realistic to myself. Political is about numbers, okay? And the more opposition voices you have, the more strength, against the incumbent or the ruling party it is. And those realities must be accepted. Unless somebody who is seated under an AC thinking that political is just an audio or like let me go on TV and then talk big. But we are full soldiers crisscrossing across the country. We want to be honest to ourselves. We don't want somebody to come and say, GDC to join the MPP, it will affect the opposition. Okay? Affectively in the sense that Mamala voice alone, forget about the number of people who supported him. But a voice against the ruling party alone, you will not have Haji, replacing that voice. We are different people. Okay? If Mama speak against MPP government, aka impact means to hand me along mantra, in a political party, it cannot be equal to Haji la voice against the MPP. These are two different people and two different personalities. So yes, we could agree that Mama la number, felt, low or lower. In fact, come Touba statistics young. No, those are real. All monkey careful like they are cooked up. But people look up to others, whether they are into their parties or not. But when they speak, other people are inspired, and it encourage people to definitely took things to another angle. So Mama, I joined MPP. It's a big minus to the opposition. Okay, but here are two things. Mama Lata MPP, aning oppositional proactiveness to neutralize or impact me. To make sure that Mama Latani shouldn't affect the electorates. Because among GDC the Malakalamoy. But somebody was voting for the UDP. The person listened to Mama Kande. Yes. Somebody was voting for Doi. They listened to Mama Kande. How do you ensoko what governing I make sure that you feel as that Mama la wotani at all morning demoralize la, at discourage la, to create voter apathy. Wole ntela minute wole kumata jam. Number yes, wole kumata le. Kafako Mama Kande ala political party in Jitale, and the elections, the past results will itandile. Touba mean the motor di amla katamiola. But if you look at Mamala real vote, Nina da Jibe, Miro near count in 2021, if the APR not alliance man join account, Amantambe 30,000 or 31,000 vote, like Tambilawola, not a GDC the mal contest. And if you look at the National Assembly election of Mealongo, it followed up. Yes, that is true. Mamala, voting over Jital. Because APRC, not alliance, in fact, in Jimara, Mama Ewo vote sort Jimaraje. I can add to what Touba has said, that majority of those people are APRC Noto Alliance because they have a strong support base in the Jimaras. And Hansan will be jail. Will Yakartio Fai GDC in 2021. You go to the impact the Nyomes and even the old Yundum and the Combo South. APRC Noto Alliance la base in Membeji, they all voted for Mama Kande. But in the National Assembly election be Anata, you look at it, you find that Bring APRC Noto Alliance stood on their own, Mama Kande was affected. Had it been APRC Noto Alliance contest under the ticket of GDC, they would have conquered 5 parliamentary seats. That is in the 4 years. And in fact, they might even have another one, in Jimara. But despite Imangwoke, they stood on their own. Mama lost all other, seats. I mean, we knew in 2018. All of the parliamentary seats I mean, we knew. Overall, Mama Kande stood empty-handed. I council in Gambisara war. Wo council wo fana subsequently he lost that council. Period. Janate kana join MPP kan. Wo council in join tele MPP kan obota oda malabla council tinu in Jimara. So Nina Rajibe literally, Mama lost his ground. So Mama Dungalam political is about expenditure. Mama knows investment no menke. Well, here is where political parties need to be honest to themselves. And the difference between the UDP and many other political parties in the Gambia is here. UDP and Menke, since inception, they made their party members to believe that they have to take ownership of their party by funding the party's activities. Thereby, the party became their own, their property. The party became their own Fenko entity that they think they are obliged to fund it. I can go to URL, I can crisscross the entire country without asking the party's treasury to fund that activity. Okay? I will only call one member of the party, then they will fail me, I'll go. I will also not ask the party to pay me a hotel. I will not ask them to pay me any accommodation or any food. Nindada, I will be with the people anywhere they are. I will eat on my own. I will make sure that I do the party's work effectively because I'm doing it for myself because I am the party. Unlike the other parties, even their political activities, if they go to places, you cannot call Haji to say because they will tell you for MPP man, for MPP for so therefore, MPP those are the businessmen. I'm just assuming those are the businessmen. So ni the party contest for one election. I'm a lost. This following election of Wenkananari, that business particular investor abala time out halale before alakodokeje because he or she want a return, in investment. So now I also don't know he will not continue to lose or she will not continue to lose. So now the party on one more individual little cash sponsor. Ultimately, the can easily die down. So until mama calculation on I investment follow I make in politics. Many would do care. He would not have the same people to come and do the same thing for him. And then political is very expensive. I make it in the past. For me, I think Mama is trying to regain and recover what expenditure I make. And the obvious thing that where he can get it is to struck a deal with people who are desperate to get him on board. And signed those who are desperate to get him on board, and thereby there is a kind of that return in what he has invested in the past with an MPP. Because the Mama regional GB Buba, the reasons are not genuine. Mama had it been, he read this statement just the aftermath of 2021 election that he is joining MPP because of security sector reform. He is joining MPP because of the civil service reform. He is joining MPP because he thinks that farmers deserve better life.
Reforms, yeah.
And he thinks he has, yes, he thinks that addition to the MPP could improve the lives and livelihood of those people and make sure there's reforms at the security sector reform and civil service reform. At that material time, one could say, oh, Mama joined genuinely. Aman joined because of, worldly or a kind of a compensation in his past electoral expenditure I make. But waiting until 4 months before another election, you want to tell me that you want to join MPP based on these reasons? I, Haji, will tell you no, that is not genuine. I can only quote his one, statement against the MPP people who join MPP. He divided them into 2 categories. the one who doesn't know, and the one who knew exactly who MPP is, but the person is after his or her own interest. Allow description of I can put Mama at a manke malonde at alonde, but because I pass expenditure menke, Mama knows to gain that kind of a fenko recovery as you know the MPP.
Okay.
So here we are as oppositions. Yes, minus lemu, but minus ni ndela miro to ala impact ni more sa neutralize not. And I will not tell you how we will do that here. I can see Ibrahim is in a competition ko GDC la moment nanga
ako molulu resign
you know,
tale ibe united already but haji atol mo jelle join that ole
and no. My politics is beyond that one. I think Ntela Politico, as far as I am trying to get people, and I know the impact of the ruling party against those people is there. I'm not here to tell you what we are doing at the grassroots and what we are not doing at the grassroots. But all what I can tell you is that GDC, member Mama Kanenoma will be minimal. And member Nala oppositional can obesiala back. But I'm not going to tell you here more at UDP.
When you mean opposition, you mean UDP.
You know, if you talk about opposition in the Gambia, you only have two oppositions, serious oppositions. The rest, the rest are just there, or I can say 5 opposition parties. The rest are just there, you know, has more big taraji. So coming for all to go, Buba, political atemu technical lady, and those techniques among diamo bantale ka wolke. Gambia political farm benyamenna. There must be an intensive engagement, which the UDP is doing. Grassroots political, there must be an intensive outreach, which the UDP is doing. And there must be surveillance on the IEC. Even when Mama was in an opposition.
Exactly. Haji, you've been following this case. What are you people still doing?
Yeah, we still pursue Yalo UDP. That is why Gambians have to definitely Hanini disagree. You have to respect them. Buba, without the UDP today, Metara Nyosabala Kudola, but election NPP will have sat down and said, hey, we have already won election. Because people were very much focused on this coalition discussion, and which was very much distracted. UDP were very vigilant on the electoral process. To try and recover because y'all bring a demand menke IEC you're killing the malenat or flat to give the on the 8th result on because it all that was the 30 Touba read lejang according to IEC it was 3,713 but that's not it. It is in the data they have given is 3,718 I understand it element for mantra of an okay, so but remember the 14,598 Hansai will begin. Okay, Sanyandu, remember the IEC for Moli, Kafoko double munity. Nobody know whether Buba is Buba or is Haji. Ibedero Panakan, Imofana Bondika, and Mola Buba Mola Hajila. So Sanyanten, it lemon at this double decision Yawoleke. Well, they are denied the right, put yet challenge a court, to retain them in the seat because for them they think that they cannot be, removed. They cannot be omitted. IEC simply, they are doing things on their own without following due process. But the 14,598 only, Hansani, he might and the mola on account of Hansa might and the mola of and this is where the UDP is mounting pressure on them. We wrote 2 letters to them to bring that, that missing data, to the public, but in market. So in the Lamiroto, IEC were planning something, it could be detrimental. Because for me personally, they have taken the risk to omit 32,650 from the electoral register. In Lamiroto, they can, because I believe MPP only believe, in rigging election to win elections. If not, IEC and Menketen, there is nobody who will go and collect data to this magnitude. You come and announce publicly to the people, at the end of the day, kata soft copy men di mole, kata men fana publish bantabal to buba, kata men display je. It take a mempo ifo ya lonko mantraji. It only bring you to the level core. They want to bid parties will not detect. Thinking that political party we will only be focused, but we are not going on the numbers. So that the reason
Ajele ne talk about
That's
break
okay.
and Elone okay.
I'll come.
Nke mwele sign go ahead.
I'll come.
Yeah, nke mwele sign go ahead.
Okay. Buba ngol lafta même fana fa yo sof ko fi nyim fana IEC mo fana di voluntary leader. UDP le o fana nyininka ko bring decision banta. Listening display le. But because until mantra security le o display banta ba and center. Sani, what would you give to the Gambian people an alternative or another option in case wokaito ni ya bondi banta ba wala decision center? They should give us, every political party, a soft copy of the professional list. But in our minds, we went through the 2021 Fenkoning, Nawo Jibel nga ron lenga lo ko milketa ko milketa je malpractice keta je irregularity de je. So lat nga nyim fana mabo nkoyen ko yin dinna. But Italian until we only want to scrutinize it to know who is Buba and who is Haji. But without knowing, we are trying to compare. The main focus banta pasra wale bokala wala bantra ko. They are surprised. 3 days Briad on it, and we got that discrepancies of 32,050 on displayed list. Bring an attention to how they were asking each other. But senior member of EC, Namol Ponyala Jede, their IT unit, ako I the chairman of a main announce. Woman put it la unit ma. This was within I think that's a revelation. When we tend to go into call data you transport or kana IC la database to national database to. Ye fengole mankin DJ men manyana ka manki. And this is where the problem is created. The chairman announced 212,095 provisional voter register. But at a malonko wo data ni mamputa la IT unit ma according to ila mol membe ya mempo mol na mol yang wolunga we mo mitan wolmen to ko there are people intala miroto within the IEC trying to work in favor of someone or an entity kawala agenda nyinta ka kundi nkono. So this is where political parties need to know ko we must not be concentrated and focused. And to my surprise, even United Molu ngeje TV tole they are trying to disregard UDP kany mempo, trying to tell people that come women from Manke Tonyati, IEC Maningo, that's not how it happened. Bring on more Ngeltal. This is not between UDP and NPP or Unite and then UDP or DOI and GDC. This is about an electoral integrity. Me alongo abokat sabatino, if you don't have a credible process me alongo is going to be protected. So everybody can decide wisely. Everybody can decide on your own choice. So, but if an opposition is even going against an opposition instead of supporting the opposition's voice, how do you think that those oppositions can stand against a ruling party? Well, at UDP, until we are focused on two things: intensive grassroots and then a huge surveillance on the IEC based on IT and also a human capital. Nindu ngalo nako opposition voice do fananya taka nyineke because niaje menyo sabala election le mar rigta you cannot make it. So ila number tekeno la number ti if there's no credible election.
Unite fananya ndafla mole bune kenya about this border fekola. But Haji thank you so much. Ngalo ne metales nga 2 hours already. But
I think
Jogado exactly
I think just
I can just 2 minutes yeah. Atole unite about this IEC call.
Just to clarify, I know definitely Hajite ila comment told me towards IEC without mentioning us. So that is clear. And then before I get there, he made a statement to say Ajela Unite members going supporting IEC on top of them. That is very funny. When we saw ila organizing secretary on TV saying United register before the registration. And the party, some of their members celebrating and saying IEC are doing their job. Now they are turning the play. That's a bit ridiculous. But let me say, Bua, everybody can be jumping and taking credit of everything. Until we know very well when IEC provide a list, when they give a flash driver and a list to every political party. When they said go to law, okay, that's left to them. But as far as we are concerned, we've not seen anything. Me along ko it shows go to law. Okay, I see they've never told us go UDP they are giving us that flash driver. That is part of the practice. That's the procedure that IEC should have done. Whether mobility no. And I can tell you, we have at least 400 objections to IEC supplementary voter registration, and on people that we believe are not rightfully Gambians, and people we believe they are underage. But what benefit do we have in public crime? What we can do is to follow the procedure. If you are not happy with the manner in which IEC is conducting business, the law provides a procedure to it. You go to a revising court and you make certain objections, and we are following that. So I am very tired, and Unite as an institution, we are very tired of throwing jabs on here, UDP, Unite. I think the conversation in itself is very tired of that. So for us, personally, if you ask me, whether opposition parties should be concerned about IEC competence, yes, we should be. Whether they're planning something, I'm not going to be able to allege. As a player, I cannot just jump to say a referee is not fair even before the game is started. But I can definitely say, I doubt their competence. And I can reference that from the 2026 elections. As an independent electoral council, to have a mistaken addition, just plus number, this plus number, that plus number, this plus number, you make an error of that magnitude, definitely your competence needs to be questioned. In an addition, you don't even need to do it. It just a software can do it for you and give you a perfect answer, and you're coming to give us errors and coming back to correct that. It nearly put the entire country into chaos. Definitely, your questions need to be, your competence need to be questioned, and you keep repeating it. And it's not deliberate. In 2016, another IEC was because they know very well that Jamel was the most dangerous person. Not even Sunyarokel. That was the guy they were going to cheat was going to be Jamel, right? But what did the election show? The election shows Jamel cheat because Jamel number demanding when they came back to give us the correct number. So which means they have a problem of competence. I agree with that. Huntington found them on a registration process. The struggle we went through, it's because we know they have a problem of competence. Their query all along have been, it's not that we don't believe you meet the qualification. Obviously, when you made those errors, you corrected it. We believe you meet the requirements. However, we are busy with A or B or C. No, it is within our rights as provided by the Constitution to register. And you are telling us you cannot register because you're doing another exercise. That's not our business. Yeah, I understand. But that goes to tell you their capability, their capacity, and then the workload that they have versus the number of people they have in that institution and the competence. Definitely, I am going to question that. However, I cannot sit there to say, are they going to be fair? Are they going to rig elections? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait for the elections to come. If they rigged it and I have evidence that they are rigged it, I and the team will go to court, and we make sure when we go to court, we don't make mistakes. We go to court and fight it to the ladder. That's it from us.
Thank you so much.
Buba.
Now.
No, Buba, before Touba. Wait. You cannot be tired of a game that you have started. You cannot be tired of a game that you have started.
But it's gonna be a back and forth. Haji has
no.
I've spoken 30 minutes or more. I'm just listening, and 2 minutes only there.
No. But I always give you your time. Buba is had given you back again another one. So be fair to me.
No, but when you are speaking more than 10 or 15 minutes, and I speak only 3, 4, or 5 minutes. You know that.
I don't time myself.
Touba should be engaging into another thing. So we have to.
No.
Yeah.
No, Touba, please stay. Yalo nani mama riolo ya banko left ka banko du ninyo bari bagala moya kuma fo mo. You think they think that they are smart while they are not. So ngame boy Buba. Yalo, it is not in the law organizing secretary menko ibe Taliban. Okay? Taliban suda fon le findita ko commission men lota telekamma. O commission ni lota pour ka Taliban. Talib le ofo. And let me tell you this thing, Ibrahim. I think you people are supposed to be informed, okay? Talibra UDP flag that is, applied, okay? I was part of the panel who asked a question about eligibility criteria. Talib categorically make it clear that this commission is established just to come and ban him. But remember, if he is selected by the UDP, the Gambia government will not have that audacity. If you select Talib has a flag bearer to ban him, he referenced kind of a Senegal like incident Tambit. And there were people among that panel. I told him, but did you have it in mind that Gambia is different from Senegal?
Okay.
So should we take the risk?
I'm not going to interrupt you.
I
just 30 seconds. I'll leave you to continue. Just 30 seconds. I just want to say something to you. As a professional recruiter, I can advise you, if you are on an interview panel and you interview somebody, the things that he said there, whether they are true or not, I just advise you as a professional, as somebody that I think. Let me finish. You can decide what you're gonna do. You can decide what you're gonna do. But I'm just gonna say
I now know because I know your direction.
In a conversation.
I don't want to allow you because I now saw your direction. But I now saw your direction.
You can proceed.
I'm saying, wait. Look, Ibrahim, I'm saying this thing because no, Buba Mbatu, he cannot put me on an ethical corner. So come and find the woman to call. Niaje Mumba for Talib is on public record in interviews. And that is why in a response to a question, when the thing was already in public domain, there's no ethical questioning in that. It was secrecy, I wouldn't have mentioned it. But he used it as a campaign tool. And if you use it as a campaign tool, I am not a permanent secretary, I am not a judge, okay? I'm a politician who asks a fellow politician. The answer he gave to me has already correlated with his public, appealing. So nito kana ikaw defend yang on Suleiman Saho la penkoni. Wala nanga Suleiman Saho quoted Talib because Commissioner Mela stand bondi wo atodi. So when Commissioner Mela stand bondi and Talib la insinuation Commissioner Bate banali, the Commissioner came after him. So what do you think? Intelligent munefo natra bota UDP to go and establish its own political party. But come for yonko mantra conference la kala. Alla member so that TV talk. Ka IEC defend. How would you defend somebody me alongo I molto bondi je loi ko I mail publish pour ite all scrutinize. I want to come ite malo. How would you go to court to question those people? Where would you know their identity when they are not displayed? Why did the law say you get displayed? You cannot so wait until when that thing is at the court, when you did not do your homework before the court. And that is where you people need to be aware of the processes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
These things are not only near the court. You will not have any opportunity to know whether Haji is a non-Gambian or is underage. You will not know it. Until and unless Haji is published at the Bantaba, then not really agent of Skiptala, then from there the community or someone else can identify Haji Haji de Amanki Jamodi. Then the person will have the right to object. How would I know my name Haji is omitted from the list? When I did not have the opportunity to go to the center, I came from America to come and register in the Gambia here. Then when I returned in America, I did not have the access to the voter provisional list to know whether my name is there or not, because I'm focusing on nothing. I did not expect it. And IEC did not publish it. How would I go to the court to fight for me to be reinstated back to the list? How would I know that? So you must be very aware of the processes before you talk about the court. You don't only go to court because you want to go to court. You want to go to court because you have evidence and before you, Ibrahim. That's what I'm on to. So, but thank you anyway. I'm not here to have any back and forth.
So my point. Yes, he just mentioned one thing. I just think I need to clarify because personally, I went back to Gambia.
Politician or
yes, but more for. So the point here is personally, Haji because personally I went back to Gambia because I registered in 2021. When I went back to Gambia, there was no picture that was taken. They just asked for my name and they printed my voter's card and gave it to me. However, I'm not going to contest that. But in the coming for Haji Wolongo, at this point in time, I want you to understand that just because UDP Felco IEC is not fair, or IEC have an agenda, or IEC is playing a role or kind of planning to give advantage to the incumbent or whatsoever. Until at this point, we do not have credible evidence as far as that is concerned. And until Sila no ngafoko IC manfair, we need to see something that is credible ngofo. That it does not mean UDP ko IC manfair until we should jump gun on to it. No. And then maybe for
But you should not equally go against the UDP. I'm not saying you should say so, but I'm saying you should not go against the UDP.
Let me just finish.
That's what I'm telling you.
Let me just finish respectfully, because you made it damn kind. Like I keep saying, but now, and I know you're passionate about all of these things. But in coming for a while ago, Haji, personally, I have a huge feeling go at all. Allah issue is not even about unite, because even if you look at the trend of this conversation, all the time, and I'm in conversation to Jang, all the interviews I'm in TV, going to get an interview with TV, like enjoy back here. All your queries about us, it's not even about unite. It's not all your queries. It's not even about unite. It's always about Talib Bensouda. And I think that is politics of the person. I have a huge feeling.
No.
Let me just finish. If I'm going to sign, give me the time to make my point.
Go ahead.
Exactly. So let me just finish. So that's what I'm saying. And the belief that I have, don't be a jello. Suleiman, I mean for on the Fengo. It's not even about banning. I mean for all on go. I live at file register. Now register are so phono. And then you corroborated that. So I mean for all on go. The people that are listening, it's not about me, you, Touba, and Buba. There are people that are listening, and they are hearing somebody who was on a UDP interview panel for the position of flag bearer coming back here on a public platform saying he personally asked Talib a question and Talib answered the question in that way. And that alone sums up that process. That alone, you coming here and saying exactly what Talib said because you asked him a particular question, that alone sums up that process. And honestly, for me, I think it's so bored. I just lay back, honestly.
Touba, let's go. So Sajini Besar ni lafta any to respond is respondala. Touba, let's go. Now Jokadu Minan lafta Jokadu Natanya because Kande Molko I symbols to Jindula letter in Jokadu and also in CRR ni URR. But ala performance began from 2016 and in 2021.
Okay, so Jokadu 2016 obviously Molmel registered compared to 2021, 2016 but in Jokadu in 2016 Mama will have a fourth best performance, and that was 3,588. But in 2021, Mama's Jokadu became his 24th best performance, 1,716. So Molesia in 2021, Martin and Mama performed in Jokadu. So Jokadu did not favor him in 2021 as much as it happened in 2016. So that was a downward trend. So Jokadu wasn't good. Buba, are you here?
Very well.
Yeah, so I mean, you were talking about URR, yes. I mean, URR, maybe Base N and so on. Mamala performance in those areas, we can take a quick look at that. In Base, he only got in 2021 9.73%. Well, sort of total combined let's say 10% of the votes in Base, and Base ballotment caster in Base as a whole is about 100,751. Mama only have in Base 9,805. I always said it in 2021. When I go to 2016, I can look at 2016 in Base. If you go to Base in 2016, Mama has 18%. So I meant sort of in 2016 in Base was actually more. It was even by numbers. 2021 he actually only got 11,289. That was 18%. And at the time, electorates were 115,000 in Base, 115,185, but ballotment Kastafanang, the outcome was low, was 63,000. However, even with a poor outcome, he still performed better than in 2021. So Menkafo in theory, sometimes the truth is different from that. Wala na ninka political kachake ntefango, nkalafi to only reference numbers, me alonko you cannot dispute it. Because then alonko mena kuna miro for ha molsi ata normally, yes, any more killing is important without a doubt. but Nina at a performance compare maybe Wolfen's na Mama Tata probably are cool and so on. So take a look at Kakachase Mendicula, member caring and member caring wala nying I see the election data and then now calling kumfa world abarka back. So yeah, I will.
Thank you so much. Nga appreciate bakele puru kafu anong ngela time ta bakele bitiwa, and I'm very sorry for that. But nga appreciate bakele la kafu la nyum program. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
All right. Of course. Haji ibe sarla munela.
Kal beten dudurong kal al nimbara Ibrahim Touba and also Omar and Professor Njie.
Essa Njie,
Mpola esa namolo anyway. Mesar la menol kal beten to kalje ko de dudurong, but like I'm someone me along if I feel something mukala taka ko debe kala moko just for Ibrahim to understand that muka ko debe moko, and I have no personal issues against Talib because I bala ko mo jindi ko blal no. All what I'm saying, these are matters of leadership and then organizational, fenko na men experience ngamel ke nyokang ngamel long ala maradinyala karwa. Okay. With regard to between the UDP and the Unite, Mobe Yalo ko Haji, in fact, even when Talib was I will never come out and then talk about him or talk things me along Konamiroto shouldn't be. Moli on public TVs, ngakele, I refrain from using anything me along Kabekila against Talib. But I believe in one thing, wala Gambia. I believe ko Gambia nyandaka fintile. Ninga any action je, any motive je, from anybody who will undermine my consent will not allow me to sit and then watch you go scot-free. Ngamelon talito aning ala followers nyaay menjila court, they are not working towards liberating the Gambia for 2026. Ngamenjila court wala minto ko to make sure that push people to the corner pour Molia failing in 2026. Then they can have what they should justify in 2031. Agree with me or disagree, but don't throw my words. May God forbid, Ning MPP Winter and the first entity members of the United and their leader. I'm not accusing them and I'm not alleging. Ibrahim, talking about ethical issues, until we agree on issues, they are highly, administrative processes me along kamanya ka finti banta. Your leader and entourage are the first persons ka leak banta. Wala mo candidate la application. We agree at the National Executive Corps. Momanya na ka finti di banta. Itelta agree ikatasi logan kata submit. That's where it finds itself as breaking news. Should apply for UDP flag bearer. Okay. I think if we are to preach ethics, the first you should start wala mo Allah will block you. And start here. Ntene aje kama kula janinka fa lonko ngajile aketa publicly kutumo ngana pinti na kul kita lul kono la me alon teta fa
Buba, just note his time. Note his time when I'm responding. My time as well.
If you want you can respond 20 minutes. I'm just learning there because I want to speak honestly. I don't want to go any motive me alon ka bekela. Kul kita legi. Cool kita lagi me along nte pintila banda ka wolf and Talib knows I know nintel ngom mata wala te betal but ninte pintila ngap because I thought ko my the ethics of ofenko manya na kama wala but ngani ndo mem point la saka men twist ngata twist no at twist no because nyimukule me along janinte ngapa potale anda fota mole fonda ko menga Talibti I have phone ko to repeat that one has nothing to do with ethics.
Thank you so much. Ibrahim, go ahead.
Nteba min fola drong walanko min fola Gambian walanko banko ko kolari mbakel and atol lolon katambi mobeti balu bo kolaring tanyino bo kolaring adamoro man saya tilimbariani tajin te abe siari je bak andung security be daming ndolbe alon Gambian mo man safe the only person me anko wala safe te Gambia banko ka wala adam barot and ning election min kana anyana ka election te mi alonko al nyanta ka wo factors wo variables al nyanta ko la use pour ka carte fay moy pour katara internet katara mol la moyta kar do ba fa kar betenne kar finta kar koyta kar mo jawte kar mo kendoti o tekkela fenti mi yalon ko wolbe dawlo bon la mola sokon o tekkela fenti mi yalon ko wolbe balo sonen la membe balo sonen la wala nga adama baro bondi je nga kafuki je kafo mi yalon ko e bankole je nga kafuki je kafo mi yalon ko agenda is clear from the start, and work kafo is very clear from the starting up to now. Même when it comes to talib la koto wolonko, you know, fendo mi alanko, it is now common adage anu gamenol delta la sign fengo fending talib long ata ba kol fanka kel mi alanko amang hani fel lonje adati je fang talib long ma kol jene mi alanko, for example ñun $700,000 for Dallas is esa fal blada min kon janaka si UDP ko la consulol de Facebook live ko talib long nga ko fen de fen mi yalan ko akata janaka fendi fay ka fo talib lati banna haji mu national executive member ti jang, he came on this platform jang, he said ko talib nala mol wala kata ka dia mol e duma wala ka manipulation ko duma for there to be a third force, and he said it here among moto fay involved among any evidence provide oda manyanda kayita nala mbe caring and a different things also, even on the platform to come here to say ko itamu interviewer on a panel mi alonko different candidates come including an interviewee I fengofo mi alonko personally I don't even believe ko kadal but natra himself wo fon fole ay telo ko exono ansa wo nyama ay ansa wo nyama ite kana mburun ko on a platform ka foko when you never o fala ya iten again o process mumindi, and finally na dia mo ba finalize amina wolonko ala nga nyina nyimbela nga murun kuokan minga na kumar wolon December nga nanang nga karte fay na candidate mi alonko, he is not only winnable but he has the wherewithal pour ka bango samanyaro wolon talib ben sudadi ana wolo unity ala baraka bak.
I guess
so. But how that become final that Talib Malakandero? Is he now? So you see, he's vindicating all what I'm saying. These people are on the process of coalition. And they said candidate. Huh? No, I have to. No, this one is so misleading. You are in a coalition with this person, and you are hereby talking about ethics. You going to declare somebody as a candidate, you know, which
but even before coalition, you're not a candidate with Talib Ben Sudal. So what you think we should not say Talib na candidate?
But this was what you are against in the UDP for.
No. Listen to that is about the coalition. We never said UDP. No. This is different. Me talking about Talib as our candidate. It's completely different as Talib.
You see the fake in this people. You see the fake in this people. If you have them talking, you think that. But look at their actions and what they say.
Thank you, Haji. Haji tentu, of course, Touba tentu, Ibrahim Dampha tentu, baringa Essa Njie tentu, political science lecturer, aning Omar Wally, nyalong ko defana benyu program odo baringi be tentu ke bage. Thank you so much for coming. Ala baraka bage. Touba baraka bage. I appreciate bage puru ela kafola nyim of course program ora bafole ko baraka bage. Bafula of course Ibrahim Dampha fananko. Thank you so much for coming. Baraka yala wato minta. And also Haji Suwaneh mi yalo ko atlem UDP la youth president Bafla. Thank you so much for coming in program or Bafla ko ala baraka baki nga nyine surale bi nga Omar Wally fananten duka je baki attending of course Essa Njie mi alon ko tata no nyim program to ali Bafla ko ala baraka baki al kafna nyame nyim program. Thank you so much. Milbe yin jibe rola of course more than 2 hours mafla ko ala barka bake al tenten ka subscribe na ni YouTube channel lola al be karla ka lete sol soto janne of course fe mi alon ka be dending Gambia la kola anin Gambia la political kola anin fanna dolu mi alon ko be karle natila le jambe program jamaale natila le mi alon ka be dending Gambia la kola so nal subscribe to ni YouTube channel lola wobe of course wo bal ba ko la bakile ka informational soto mi alon ko atol follow le ba lonna ko mi alon ko walebe caring Gambia banko kan. That's why it is very important pour aller subscribe ning YouTube channel dola alta ale subscribe so momo e kibaro finansuro mi alon ko e laftale pour mor nga tambindi be min kala don asonere le isi mol isente fon ko mandele be soro le but is only for business like natra kibaro be bulu mi alon ko e lafta wala siala isi kibaro nyin sedno nyele on the +1 720 6090 525 +17206090525 +17206090525 and ale message yo sen nyeje na lafta kibarol dealer na milalon kal mala fi al tole fintim do kala wala nyama al tolte fintila je be kibarol fanam bi natila len ko nga fo nyamen dong last time of course mol kala fi kibarol dealer le bari sometimes ibuka haji comme kibarol iba dealer nyamen so dolka silabin na wala mi toti faabe fintila le faade fintila so mba fulale ko nalbe kibaro dila mo lambe garanti la ko itote fintila je andu ite fongo jaro de fintila je so be trial la nge protect about it after min fola o nite fongo fen so mi alon ko se complain just let us know inshallah bab nati la ngi channel to le jam alkana ñina ka subscribe YouTube channel o jitto so fenko ñing the advantage of subscribing is ninga video do ndite dabe tarra follow kono le million ko itele idabe tarra mo follow kono le million ko be video ñin sutal because be notification on sutulale ka foy ko video ñin duntale ñemmu fenko le de atodum fan subscription is free of charge alo ne kiankol camera ko jorole bije but it is definitely free of charge jori mantraje nal subscribe ta drong al dabe ta ramol kono mi alon kan be video sur la fo so belo nyimbe damen al be jele mala alena video fanan like but alsa siano fanan albe group to ibaje la be mako ba ke pour mo jamal fana si freno mo jamal la nyame nala any suggestion fanan so nga nyin number min dialla alsa la suggestion o be kino wotole ngal tentu kal jay baki foni mutanale anim programme ko tan la jang on Gagigo News Network alnal badi malek non te buga Gagigo wassalam